Colonel Wyatt hits the screen, got stories bold and keen. Old soldier, sharp and mean, tells truths they've never seen. Rugby lover with a roar, Africa flowing in his core. YouTube rants they can't ignore, his passion makes his heart soar. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Military mind, keen and wise, truths come out, no disguise. South African skies, in his eyes, hear his voice, no surprise. Retired soldier with the fight, in the dark he brings the light. Angry rants, truths ignite, join the cause, join the ride. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Enemies knocked on his door, trolls attack, but he's more with each click. Watch him soar on the truth waves, he explodes. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Right now, don't miss the brawl.
Take a picture.
A land of gold sunsets and skies so blue, mountains whisper stories of dreams so true. From oceans roaring wild to valleys deep, a heartbeat of a nation that will not sleep. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies they weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people's above it all. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. People sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies, they weave their weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people's above it all. We know it all.
Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Boys and girls, buckle up. It's going to be a very eventful evening here on Night Owls. This is Chris, live in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to all the Neanderthals sitting on the right-hand side of the auditorium, the canines in the center, and all you right-wing podcasters over there on the right-hand side. For the aspiring car guards, as usual, you can sit anywhere in the bowl that you desire. You have squatters' rights. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. A bat crap pile of stuff has been happening in the past 6 hours. Lots is going on. Judges issuing decisions in the Epstein case. South Africa now facing a vote of no confidence against Cyril Ramaphosa. And Representative Ronnie Jackson of Texas' 13 congressional districts bill has made it out of committee to sanction the ANC. A lot is going on. We're going to cover that here in just a moment. Let me just take a check here, make sure my sound is okay. In just a moment. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Welcome to everybody who's come in for the chat tonight. My apologies for the 30-minute delay in the start this evening. It's not that I want to stay up late at night, 11:30 in the evening, but rather that I had to get that video edited and put together about Ronnie Jackson's bill moving through the committee, because that is huge news. I was skeptical that bill would ever get through committee in this session, but here it is. And now we have the president talking and discussing extending the congressional session so that these dirtbags don't go on vacation in August and actually represent the people by working where they should be in Washington instead of taking their extended vacation. If that's the case, this bill could well get out of the House before they go at recess. Now, there's a possibility of that. It was impossible just days ago, but now it's possible. And if that were to happen, the Senate would likely pass it, although we'd see the typical turncoat treasonous bastards like Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Mitch McConnell betray the Republicans. But the deciding vote, of course, would be the vice president. It would go before the president's desk. And there's a very real possibility that South Africa's African National Congress would find its leaders at least sanctioned by the United States, and at least the relationship brought into clearer focus. Things are not looking good in Pretoria or in Cape Town these days. It's not just potholes. It's not just the absence of electricity in the most romantic country in all of the world, South Africa, where everyone dines by candlelight every evening. It's not just the rampant crime, the cash in transits, the rapes, the murders, the farm assaults, the farm murders. It isn't just the swindles. It isn't just the diamond swindlers. It isn't just the misery that has been heaped on the people of South Africa, black, white, and brown. It is the failure of the ruling party, the African National Congress, and its cohorts in the Government of National Unity, who are now responsible for the degradation, destruction, and impending collapse of South Africa. Does that sound a little hyperbolic? Well, maybe, but it's not. The indicators are all there, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who missed it, rock star, former Black Sabbath member Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 86 after performing his final concert just 6 weeks ago. That happened also. So a lot going on. And of course, we mentioned that Malcolm Jamal Warner, the former Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, drowned on Sunday. Sad passing there as well. Karen Long, welcome to you. Rebecca, Tom Poltney, Angelique, Enemy free. Our morning started more. Hope that the Trump administration is still working hard. Yes, it is. And I will tell you now, I know someone said, let's not have refugee questions. This isn't a question. I'm just telling you, I have received at least 2 or 3 dozen emails in the past couple of days of people who've been contacted in the past couple of days in South Africa. Now, bear in mind, this is just anecdotal. This would happen to be the small number of people who watch my channel and those who actually have gotten a call or been sent documents or spoken to the organization that's working out of Kenya or for folks back out of the States. Folks, it's moving along. For those of you who are frustrated, I appreciate your frustration, but your expectations are not realistic. That said, things are moving along. All right, so Brian Lawrenson's here, Dougie Raymond, George, welcome George, Emerentia, Quinn, Ronel Clote, AJ Quinn, Dogzilla. I can see your post, Dogzilla, but don't troll tonight, okay? We've got serious things to talk about, all right? Okay. Alabalas here, Loretta, Pete Sten, Francis Ruiz, Sloth Puppy, one of the OGs is here. Good to see you again, Sloth Puppy. Loretta, I said that already. And who else we got here? You're all just the same people chatting. Jack Up is in from Minnesota. Fonz is in here. Welcome to you, Fonz. Caitlin, welcome to you. Ingrid's Inspirations, okay. And Gordon von Rensburg, Sarita Flippa, Sonia Yonka, Vanna Durant, Maddie S. Hello, Maddie. Brian Lawrenson, Esmeralda, Pretorius, Utopi, Patses. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Kathy Price, welcome to you. Veroshka, hello again. Mit Motion. Monica Velchamont, welcome to you. And Time for a Ray of Sunshine, says Loretta. Well, okay. Expat Family Joubert, Rakes. Red-handed stepchild, left-handed redheaded stepchild. That's who you're supposed to be. Got to put that left-handed in there too. And who else we got here? Freya Dutoy, Xavier Grayling. Wow, 150 here. Yeah, early birds. Well, I did start late, but I think the headline has got some people's attention who would not be watching otherwise. And we're going to talk about that extensively, folks. I'm going to run through the list of egregious offenses against the United States interest that Representative Ronnie Jackson and his co-sponsor from Michigan James have put into that bill. And then Bernadette Conaway, welcome to you. Who am I missing? CB is here. Momo's here. Alex Vigaroo. Philip Swanepoel. Joe Cruiser. Flying Dutchman. Sinkmaster. Rex is Human. Stratkat, welcome to you. And Kara Framak. Cherry. Okay. Schlampiri. Okay, folks. Moderators, be on the lookout for trolling. Okay. Be on the lookout for trolling. I'm just seeing some faces I haven't seen here before. Doesn't mean they're trolls, but just saying. Okay, Jared Vessels, Belinda Roberts, Nicola, hello. How's Belito? And in Sanderton and Pumalanga, where can I verify that EFFMK, who is running things here, ain't doing? What do you mean they're running things? They're not running anything. They don't control any governments. The MK runs some governments, but the EFF doesn't run any governments anywhere. So I'll post on X that Juju was found guilty. Juju also now says EF is ready to... No, I haven't seen anywhere where he's found guilty. It was held. The judgment was held in abeyance unless it came out this morning. They delayed the judgment in that case. Henry, welcome to you. And Shampiri, welcome. Thank you for your membership. My alert box must be off. Let me turn that on. There it is. All right, folks. All right, let's get to the news. This isn't usually a news program. It's usually a conversational evening where we chat and have a little bit of fun. Last night we made a song about mosquitoes, skeeter season. But tonight we've got to talk about events unfolding in the U.S. and in South Africa. And it's a lot, folks. It's a lot. Jean de Koch, welcome to you. Right, let's get to it. Be sure to hit that like button, folks. All right, let's do the e-begging. 241 people currently, 243, 132 likes. There are some freeloaders getting a free ride right now.
That was easy.
Come on, the price of admission is free. It costs nothing. And the Truth Channel's back. Good to see you again there. All right. Reserved until September. Exactly. There's no judgment. Maddie said, before I forget, thank you for the news and everything you do for us. You're very welcome, Maddie. I saw you comment on one of my videos. I was a little puzzled by your comment, but anyway, I didn't respond to it, Maddie. Okay, let's get to this. First off, the MK party, the Mkhonto we Sizwe party, has filed a motion of no confidence. And egg on my face, because on Monday, I reported that, hey, they made a threat. Are they just like the DA? They don't follow through on their threats. No demonstrations, no case before the Constitutional Court, no motion no confidence. But in fact, apparently they put the motion no confidence on the floor on Friday for it to be considered. So that vote is upcoming. MK has followed through on their promise. They said if Ramaphosa did not resign by last Friday, they were going to put a motion of confidence. Yesterday it was not publicly known, so I castigated them. Well, egg on my face today. My comeuppance. In fact, they did. Both Jacaranda FM and the IOL reported that it went out on Friday. So they have more credibility than the DA for some people right now. The MK motion of no confidence against Ramaphosa amid allegations of political interference. The Mkontawi Sizwe Party filed a no-confidence motion against President Ramaphosa, citing a myriad of pressing concerns ranging from soaring crime rates to poor economic management and failures in national security. In the letter to the Assembly Speaker, Toko Didiza, the party also claims that Ramaphosa's leadership has eroded public trust and allowed the country to unravel. Well, that's a pretty fair statement. The application was submitted on Friday afternoon following troubling allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nandla Mkhwanazi concerning political interference in law enforcement. In light of Mkhwanazi's shocking allegations, the party opposes President Ramaphosa's choice to retain Police Minister Senzo Mkhunu rather than dismissing him. Dismiss him and investigate him and charge him if necessary. Yes, that's happened. That's huge news. There's a motion of no confidence. It will only succeed if the Democratic Alliance joins it. But I think the Democratic Alliance thinks that they're the ANC and Cyril's boys. And so the only reason he's president now is because they voted for him. And I would suggest that maybe they consider voting him out of office. Yes. The DA will not choose the next president, Willem Meiburg. There's no way that the MK would allow that. They have sufficient votes that they can block that from happening. The DA failed to achieve anything in this national election. They have just 80 plus 89 seats, I think it is. It's not enough. You need 200, or the plurality if people don't show up to vote, which you normally need 201 to get through. So they're not going to get there. My recommendation is that the DA and the IFP and the Freedom Front Plus vote for the motion of no confidence in Ramaphosa, and then they all vote for Velankosi Hlabisa to be the next president. That'd be my recommendation. It's the only plausible thing that happen going forward. Judges have weighed in on the Justice Department's request for release of the Epstein grand jury information. Federal judges responded to a request from the Attorney General to release grand jury transcripts from cases against Jeffrey Epstein and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. Two federal judges in Manhattan said in similar court orders on Tuesday that they would try to expeditiously resolve motions by Attorney General Pam Bondi seeking to unseal grand jury transcripts from the prosecutions of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But both judges ordered the government to file legal arguments setting out the special circumstances which justify disclosing the material. See, this is the problem. They're all attacking Trump about not releasing Epstein files, but we're talking about grand jury. These are sealed. You don't release grand jury testimony. You don't release grand jury participants. You don't do that. It jeopardizes the entire process. This absurd notion that they're going to find something in these files. Well, the Trump administration has to make the argument that it's worthwhile. So we'll see if they can make the argument. We'll see if they can make the argument. Right. All right, folks. Now the next one. This is the story that some of you probably tuned in for this morning, and certainly people will tune in throughout the day. I didn't even announce my video earlier about this that I just posted in the last hour. I'm just shocked, actually. Let me go check that out. That video, which I just posted in the last hour, at this time of day when almost nobody's up in South Africa, has already gotten over 2,000 views, 4,000 views. I mean, wow. I mean, I guess if you build it, they will come. I just put this bill out. I didn't even advertise to people until when I went live on the stream, and it has 4,000 views in the first 1 hour. At 5 o'clock in the morning. It was at 4:30 in the morning when I actually released that thing. That's shocking. Hopefully that video will do very well today and people will be informed about this piece of legislation. Do you think Rob knows yet? What is the state of N? I don't know. I doubt he knows because it was only this evening that Ronnie Jackson released it. It got through committee. It was about 5:30 our time, so that would have been 11:30 South African time. I doubt it. Yeah, Xavier found my video without it even being posted. Sorry, there's gnats in here. Rosalind Rosimos, welcome to you. Okay. Not the cheating CEO. I have no idea what you're talking about, Christina. What cheating CEO? What are you talking about? Yep. Of course, the MK wants Jacob Zuma. That isn't going to happen. So the situation tonight is the following. Let me show you this text from Representative Ronnie Jackson. This, I'm going to have to zoom in higher because that's too small for you all to see on your screen. It So Representative Rodney Jackson said South Africa made its choice when they abandoned America and our allies and sided with communists and terrorists. Today, my bill to fully review America's relationship with South Africa and give President Trump the tools necessary to hold their corrupt government accountable passed through a committee. The days of allowing our so-called allies to walk all over us are over. 5:35 Eastern Standard Time, that was posted. My response was, wow, it's definitely progress. I wonder how long it would get stuck in committee. If Congress does not go into recess in August, things will get ugly for the ANC very fast. Baba Yaga commented. Katia Beeden commented. Yeah. Happy Boyanga says, we're Africa. We remember the chains of colonialism, the stolen land, the massacres, the humiliation. We remember how you armed our oppressors, stole our wealth, and called it civilization. Now because South Africa chooses its own path and not yours, you call us terrorists? No, we are free people, and we will never again take orders from those who once shackled us. Listen, Happy Bongyaya, you're a dumbass. We never shackled you, you dumb fuck. Shut the fuck up. Piss off. Footsec. Nobody wants to hear what you got to say. You're some loser. We didn't shackle you. You're a racist. You're a racist. Because what you're saying is we, because we're mostly white. Well, piss off, buddy. Piss off. Anyway. Yikes. There you go. That's the post on X by Representative Ronnie Jackson. Yep. My post on there has gotten 2,200 views. I'm surprised that many people actually looked at it this hour. DA is slapchat. They will fail stand up ANC. Exactly, Xavier. Yeah, that guy can piss off. Truth Social pinged on my phone with news of the bill. That's interesting, Loretta. But Truth Social doesn't ping on my phone. I don't think I have the notification. Let me see. Do I have a notification for Truth Social? Oh, I'm sorry. I have it on silent. So it might have come. Let me see. Let me take a look if I get a Truth Social notification from that. X, YouTube, Al Jazeera, Amazon, News 24, Starbucks, TikTok. Nothing from Truth Social. By the way, my photos that I post on Google have 29, almost 30 million views. More than my YouTube channel. But I've been doing that longer than YouTube, and I've got a lot of videos on there. You're welcome there, Barent Hendrik Boykes. Okay. All right, so that's that. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let me go through this bill. For those who didn't watch the video, I've made some slides. I'm just going to cover those very quickly here. So let me get to those. There we go. Okay. Okay, where are we at here? Come on. Computer's acting a little slow here. There we go. All right, got it now. So these are some of the things. There were 4 categories that Jackson and John James, the representative from Michigan, were complaining about specifically. Okay, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel related statements and actions. And this is the first. Whoops, that's not what I want. Sorry. Here we go. That's what I want. Okay, so talked about October 7th. And these are just some of the issues that Ronnie Jackson had about anti-Semitism and also about their actions. Whoops, I jumped ahead there. So there you go. And then Naledi Pandor visited Tehran. You got the parliamentary address here. The International Criminal Court situation. Hosting Hamas. And then the case before the ICJ. And then here's the real ones they're really worried about. South Africa threatened South African citizens. Naledi Pandor said South African citizens who fight for the IDF, who are dual nationals, will be put in prison, prosecuted. And then she also implicitly encouraged protest outside the American embassy. This fool, who was the foreign minister, encouraged violent protest outside the American embassy, putting the lives of South Africans who worked at that embassy, Americans, and security forces in jeopardy and endangering public safety. Naledi Pandor. Then, of course, she congratulated them on their murders on October 7th, 2023. Then in November 2024, appointing Ibrahim Rasool. And then this one here, which is the one that the ANC simply can't get out of. You can't deny this. Their ongoing attempt to rename the Santon Drive in front of the U.S. consulate in Joburg to Leila Khaled Drive, a known terrorist, and including a quote from ANC First Deputy Secretary General Nomvula Monkonyane saying, "We want the United States of America Embassy to change their letterhead to number 1 Leila Khaled Drive." It's an insult of the highest order that insults all free peoples around the world, naming a major route after a terrorist and doing so to harm the United States. Ridiculous. So anti-Semitism, anti-Israeli actions, and actions against the United States. Then we have this situation here. The South African government and the African National Congress's close relations with the Russian Federation, their obfuscation on the Lady R and their bogus investigation into it, covering up what actually happened there with an arms transfer, according to the U.S. Congress. And then also hosting naval exercises with sanctioned Russian rogue state that attacked Ukraine for Operation Mosi 2 on the 17th to 27th of February in 2023, a full year after the conflict began when Russia was being ostracized by most of the world. Authorizing a United States sanctioned Russian military cargo plane to land at Waterkloof, and then also dispatching multiple high-level official delegations to Russia to further the political intelligence and military cooperation. Dispatching multiple high-level official delegations. I already got that one. And the United States sanctioned oligarch Victor Veckelsberg donating $826,000 to the ANC. And the ANC publishing an article in their newspaper in October 2024 promoting Russian propaganda about the war in Ukraine. Just shows you that they're in league with the Russians. All right, so that's another situation. So their anti-Semitic actions, anti-Israel actions, that's one category. Then their actions with the Russian Federation, and now their close ties with the Chinese communists. So here, this is all in their bill, and it was put in the bill back in April, and I covered this, but now I've made some slides so it's obvious and people can see this up close and personal. The ongoing relationship between the ANC and the Chinese Communist Party, and their complete looking the other way at the Chinese Communist Party suppression of free expression and individual rights, as well as the ongoing genocide against the Uyghurs, allowing the Test Flying Academy of South Africa to recruit U.S. and NATO fighter pilots to train Chinese People's Liberation Army pilots to murder, to shoot down, to kill allied nations' aircraft and their pilots. Yep. And that's a organization that's on the entity list that's barred from doing business. And then, of course, many other egregious actions with the Chinese communists. Cooperation with them on their Global Belt and Road Initiative, which works against the interest of much of the free world. Demanding that the Taiwanese relocate their embassy and downgrade it from a diplomatic mission to simply a trade office, moving it from Hatfield to Joburg. These actions are in league with the Chinese communists. And then, of course, in the interest of the South African people, what they put in this bill is the history of ANC failure, incompetence, ineptitude, corruption, patronage, and racism. And that's what they put in, how they've harmed South Africans. So these representatives in our Congress do care about South Africans because that's a major reason why they put this bill into effect. Ramaphosa's declaration of national state of disaster over the Eskom after chronic mismanagement and corruption. The persistence of South Africa's state-owned railway company Transnet's insufficient capacity due to malfeasance and corruption. Outbreaks of cholera in Hammanskraal. And rampant state capture under Jacob Zuma, and all the others came after that. They don't even attack Ramaphosa's corruption in his government. I mean, there's no mention of money stuffed in a suitcase or stuffed actually in the furniture. No mention of that, or the perversion of the means of justice. And then, of course, the most egregious of the final insult here was the appointment of the former ambassador to Washington, D.C., Ibrahim Rasool, to come here and spew racial hatred and bigotry against President Trump and against America. Appointing him in November 2024 and rushing him to Washington to insult the Trump administration so he's credentialed by the Biden regime on its way out the door, sticking them with this man who spews racial hatred. He hates Christians, he hates whites, he hates America, he hates Trump, based on his own comments. Not my words, his words. He called Trump an extreme in March of 2025 after he was already the sitting ambassador. And he said Trump was the leader of a global white supremacist movement and Americans are racist. Well, he was, of course, declared persona non grata by the Secretary of State. Yeah, own goal. So what comes next, folks? Will there be sanctions in South Africa? Don't put the cart before the horse because a lot has to happen. But this is very encouraging for those who are looking for sanctions or for a review of the relationship with South Africa. Getting the bill out of committee, which is the biggest obstacle. I said that all along. You can introduce a bill, but then it goes to committee where it gets written up, it gets changed, gets modified. They vote on it. And if it comes out of committee, it goes on the floor. Once it goes on the floor, then it gets put on the calendar. When it's on the calendar, then it winds up in debate and people talk about it. So you get placed on a calendar. There's a floor debate in the House. Then any amendments that people propose get added to it. Then the House will vote on it. It gets sent to the Senate for consideration. If the Senate agrees with the bill as written, which is rarely the case, then it goes to a vote in the Senate. And they can also do committee if they want. If they have identical versions of the House and Senate of the same bill, it goes to the President for signature and then it becomes law. the next steps to sanction the African National Congress and the South African government. There you go, folks. I put a lot of time into making those slides earlier. I noticed one mistake on them, so I feel bad about that, but did my best earlier. So anyway, yeah, there you go. That's a lot of work. A lot of work. I'll be ready. The persecution is going to happen very fast. The ANC government is going to take out their frustrations. They're already doing that. MK Khafar is small. They say sometimes better to side with the enemy side. Huh. What is Christina saying? Oh, crap. Great. Now we have to stress even more when going to the U.S. Embassy. Why do you have to stress about going to the U.S. Embassy, Christina? Why would you stress about that? It's in a lovely neighborhood. DA could easily form a new GNU if there's political. Well, yeah, that's possible without the ANC, but ANC has 159 seats. That leaves just 241. Not a lot of space for maneuver, especially given that 39 seats are held by the EFF. So not a lot of space for maneuver. And these parties all vote exactly what their leaders tell them to because they don't represent the people, they represent the parties. Must make some of the leaders of ANC really sweat this morning. Oh, I hope they are, Dirk. I hope they are. Yep. I hope they are. So, yeah. There you go, folks. I mean, that's what's going on here. Wow. Big news there. Sorry, I'm just sending this through to a few people. Just sending my video through if you'll. All right. Thinks they are called a party. They just party on. Yeah, fake money. Stolen land. Age-old story of ignorant Northern Africans who actually stole this land. Yeah. Apologies. Just saw a screen and thought it was that silly story working, trying to keep informed about this bill. All the other parties vote against the ANC. They could for new. Yeah, but that includes the EFF. Rudy Anchor, a work in progress. Thank you for your subscription. Yeah, okay. What have I missed here? I'm just looking sure I missed anything. Meg Sham, State of the Nation YouTube channel. They host regular get-togethers and had Roll Rob as a guest. Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I didn't know. It was, you said N. You said N Nation. That's what I saw. Okay. Yeah, the IFP guy can't be a flip-flopper, but he's amenable to people. Yeah. Thank you for the 2 super chats we got so far. Let's see any more come in. Okay. Good heavens, demonstrations in front of the Assembly. Are these morons seriously think the U.S. will crumble to their stupid demands? How utterly stupid what's happening. Yeah, no, they are stupid. Yeah, they are stupid. The downfall of the ANC will just accelerate when the sanctions come out supporting this effort from the U.S., says Vim. Okay. All right. Rudolph, it says, I only now notice your Army retired plaque. Oh, you like that? It's not a plaque. It's a license plate. In Pennsylvania, we only have a license plate on the back of the car. There's no requirement for a front license plate. So people put vanity plates and things like that. I picked this up earlier today. Thought it was pretty cool. It's a license plate, as you can see. No prisoners were harmed in the manufacture of this plate. I thought the gold and black, which is Army colors, was pretty good. So I picked that up. Yep, so I picked that up earlier today when I went to the Army History and Education Center. I'm trying to set up an interview because it's the Army's 250th birthday and talk to the director of Army History and Education Center, AHEC. I thought maybe some of you might find that interesting. So listen to the rest tomorrow morning. Okay, Alex, tomorrow morning. Okay, you must be here in the States. I think we must adopt you, then you can become our president. Very Duplessis with 100 Rand Super Chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate your Super Chat. Thank you so much. It is an awesome plate. I had to buy it, but I mean, I also got a coin to commemorate the 250th anniversary, and I picked up a 250th anniversary T-shirt. Let me go grab that, and I'll show it to you guys. Aha! Cincinnati! Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me. Well, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP. Got tired of packing, and I'm backing town to town, up and down the dial. Cincinnati, named after Cincinnatus. Cincinnati, I like Cincinnati. Hamilton County, if I'm not mistaken. I went to Ohio University, but I'm a big University of Cincinnati college basketball fan from back in the day. So I picked up this Commander's coin, this one that they had manufactured for the commemoration of the 250th birthday, Army Heritage Center Foundation. It is the United States Army 1775 to 2025. Not the best coin, but not bad. So there you go. Picked that one up. Whoops, that didn't go very well. Fell out of my hand there. Anyway, so 225. Got that one. And then this is for those who know the Army. I thought this was pretty cool, this t-shirt they made. So DD 214 alumni. The DD is Department of Defense Form 214, which is your discharge paper from the Army. It has all your qualifications, all your service, all your awards, your decorations, your combat tours, everything. Your service, all your everything. Your overseas tours. Yeah, so DD 214, I thought that was pretty cool, so I bought that t-shirt. But I went there for this reason, to coordinate for the interview, and I just missed the director, so I didn't get to talk to her today. But I wanted to get this t-shirt, which I'd seen last week or the other day, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. There's the little patch they put on there, 250. Come on. It's not working out so well. There we go. 250. And you got all this soldiers standing. Come on. Here, try it this way. There we go. You see all the soldiers standing there, 250 U.S. Army. But the really cool part is that's on the entire back. It's not on the front. It's actually on the back. So check that out. U.S. Army, 250 years. Pretty cool, huh? Yep. Anyway, so that's why I went there to pick it up. I like the gray color, too. It's nice. So cool beans. Picked that up earlier today. And at the Army History and Education Center, I had to run out and run some errands, and that was part of it. So there you go. And then I also picked this up. I'm an air assault school qualified, and they have these little air assault school pins, not the original one because it's not the actual one, so it's just a commemorative thing. So I got that so I can pin that on my lapel. Kind of cool. All right. And Joaquin Vincente just subscribed. Thank you for that. Wow, that shirt is detailed well. Yeah, it's a really nice shirt. It's good quality, too. Very good quality. And the price wasn't that bad. Oh, Tom, I've got all kinds of stuff. I've got my Rugby World Cup tickets until the bastards started issuing them over electronic means. I got up for 2011, 2014, 2017, 2015, 2019, and then they screwed us. Now it's in 2018 it was digital, and now they're all digital. It sucks. All right. Yeah, I've got Starbucks coffee mugs from all over the world. The City Series from everywhere that I've been around the world where they have Starbucks, including Japan. Yep. And Pretoria. Yep. I think these criminals know what's coming. That's why they've been hanging around with China. Could be. Lies sold to the people. The truth shall prevail. ANC is going to find out. They're going to go full on Mugabe. You probably still remember WK. Yeah. Well, Xavier, that's what I was singing. I was singing the song, which is the theme song. Yep. WKRP. The turkey drop. They drop live turkeys. From a helicopter. Anyway. I wonder if everyone understands the impact of sanctions and see the impact it will have on everyone in South Africa. Well, it will have very little impact on the economy of Varushka if it's handled the way it was handled against Zimbabwe. Very little impact. If the sanctions go against leaders, which are travel sanctions and financial transaction sanctions, it's not going to affect the economy. It'll have no impact. And that's probably what will come. They could also sanction state-owned enterprises. That could be devastating because SAA, Transcom, Airports Company South Africa, the list is endless of these parastatals. That could be a problem. What was funny? Oh, when they dropped the turkeys out. Yeah. Les Nussman. You still have your dog tags. Yeah, I've got my dog tags. The original ones and the second ones came later on. They're somewhere around here. Starbucks mug from Bali. I've never been to Bali, Nina. Doesn't interest me. It's just beaches and tropical and prostitutes. No interest. Not for me. Not for me. Yeah, I have my own museum, Theo. That's correct. Yeah. So anyway, folks, that legislation now is going to go to the floor, and I can't say if and when it'll be advanced, but this is huge news. Very big news that got as far as it did already. That is amazing. Jana Fundenberg, thank you for your membership. Zim as country was never sanctioned. Mugabe as person was sanctioned. Yes, as was Sharon Spiri, Constantine Chiwengo, and Mnangagwa, and a whole host of others. You're welcome, Varushka. Yeah, that's now, yeah. So the sanctions that were applied in the 1980s, the comprehensive sanctions applied by Congress over President Reagan's veto, because Reagan was talking about engagement and enlargement. He says you're not going to change South Africa's behavior by ostracizing them. You got to work with them. Well, Congress overrode his veto, which they can do with a two-thirds majority. They overrode his veto, And those sanctions targeted businesses, and that was devastating. Herman Rus, did you see they are starting to break down illegal hotels and bars in Bali? No, I didn't see that. Please catch me out. What legislation? Janine Scenes, very demanding of you to pop in here in the middle of the show and demand to know what's going on. Janine, the House Resolution 2633, I think it is. Is that the one, 2633? Let me just double check on that real quick. Yeah, 2633, the U.S.-South African Bilateral Relations Review Act of 2025, which was introduced on April 3rd, the same day that the reciprocal tariffs went into effect initially. That Ronnie Jackson from Texas, 13th Congressional District, put that into Congress. And at the time, I said, don't get too excited. It's got to go through committee, and things die in committee. If it gets out of committee, then it can go to the floor for debate, and it could become a law. Well, the fact that in this congressional session, which is nearly over, it came out of committee in such a short order. I mean, from April 3rd, May 3rd, June 3rd, July 3rd, just a little over 3 months. That's pretty quick. And it's going to get to the floor now, and it's up to Republicans to schedule it. And it could sanction, will review the relationship. Now, that won't happen immediately because they're going to have to do a review. And they'll set a timeline, 90 days, 180 days most likely, that they'll review the relationship, which will give, thank you, Joseph Bota, for subscribing. It'll give the ANC time to correct course. They won't. So that'll just delay the inevitable. And but the president could already use the Magnitsky Act right now to sanction ANC leaders. The fact that he hasn't punished Ramaphosa for lying to him in the White House, the fact that he hasn't punished Ramaphosa for acting like an ass and trying to embarrass Trump when he went back to South Africa, shows that Trump either doesn't care about what's going on in South Africa or is just very generous and magnanimous in trying not to hurt South Africa. And I like to think it's the latter. Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, the Magnitsky Act could already be used against ANC leaders and members of the government of national unity. Absolutely. No question about it. Boss Trump truly is blessed handling business for South Africa, the gift that keeps giving. Sanctions so good, says Jan. That was devastating. The 80s crippled South Africa. Yeah, it's true. But it isn't the reason. That isn't the reason apartheid ended. Sanctions didn't destroy South Africa. It hurt, but it didn't destroy. South Africa was able to evade sanctions through self-production, through SASL, and also through cooperation with Israel and other rogue actors, if you want to call them that at the time. But the real impact that affected the end of apartheid was ultimately the collapse of the Soviet bloc, the end of communism, at least temporarily, and the end of the Rui Chava ended the raison d'etre, the reason for existing for the National Party. They can no longer argue to the population who could vote that they needed to be in charge because they need a security state. The argument was not going to work anymore. So the jig was up, and they put a referendum out, and people voted. 62% voted, let's change things. From your analysis, what would you say is the success rate of African governments with no external support to function and govern as a government should? I don't know of any government in Africa that doesn't receive external support, so it's impossible to answer that question. Every government in Africa, to my knowledge, receives foreign aid. Every single one. I don't know of any that don't receive foreign aid of one sort or another. Some get a lot, some get a little. Rakes, I agree with you, and that's the point I've been trying to tell people in South Africa, that you don't matter. You don't matter. Terrorists, Democrats, Communist China, Russia and Ukraine, Iran, North Korea, NATO. There's a lot more on the plate than South Africa. Living in Vanderbilt Park when the ANC blew up an oil reservoir in Sassel. Yeah, terrorist. Yep. Yeah, it shows you, Momo, it shows you how hurtful Congress is with. And here's the thing. I've talked to people who are influential and in powerful positions in South Africa, and I won't disclose who they are, who told me that they sent delegation. This is not AfriForum. It's not Solidarity. It's not that. It's not someone you think at all. This is an organization that you would not have guessed, that I talked to, and you would not have guessed that this organization had a representation. This is an organization that's left of center, that went to Washington and assumed that they would find favor with the Black Congressional Caucus. Because, you know, they're black, and South Africa, it's Africa. But the Black Congressional Caucus was very circumspect, very terse, and very angry with this delegation of leftists from South Africa who went to America. And they walked out of there white as a ghost, even the black members of the delegation, shocked that they were treated so rudely and that there was no interest in listening to what they had to say. Because the black members of Congress, many of them have also had enough of this stupidity. Yeah, the insults to America that the ANC has perpetrated over the past 25 years have just boiled to a point where things are no longer going to be tolerated. And that's what he says in that Twitter post. Good time with Ramaphosa. He needn't do anything else than host him at a good dinner, just like Together with the Consequences. Just a liquor party. Okay? You would have to go to ground level or lower with that animation to show where South Africa is in the U.S. parties. Yeah, exactly, Werner. Yep. The squeeze is better for the ANC. They must expose them. Being 8 years old to learn how bombs and anti-personnel mines look in emergency evacuation drills daily will stay with me forever. Hope Trump sorts out the ANC. ANC deserve what is going to come to them, yet we are the ones who are going to get the grunt of it. Not necessarily, Tony. Not necessarily. I mean, like I said, these are usually, if they do sanction, it's usually travel and financial sanctions. Yep. Everything ANC does has got something to do with the U.S. No, it doesn't, Pablo. It doesn't. So what's the time frame for a bill like this to pass and be signed? No, it won't be years, Straught. Like I said, the fact that it got out of committee in just 3 months, I found surprising. Once a bill hits the floor, if there's enough people behind it, it will move quickly. It'll move up the agenda because it's important. Or if the president wants it to happen. So here, this is what I suggest. Cyril Ramaphosa, keep running around saying, I don't know what Donald Trump knows about South Africa, but he can keep his America. We'll keep South Africa. Keep saying stupid shit like that. Or here's another one. Vaccine apartheid, vaccine apartheid. Keep saying that, Cyril. Or you can keep saying, oh, no, we know nothing about these crosses. No. There's nobody's being killed in South Africa. No. You keep saying that, Cyril. Keep pissing Trump off. And then Trump will get behind his bill and it'll get passed in this session. So I'm just saying. You know, the ANC is very good at digging its own grave and committing own goals. So, hey, why not just step on your crank and make it hurt for real? Yes, I said that, Aaron. The ANC is going to play the victim. They're going to cry racism. Even though one of the co-sponsors is black, they'll scream racism. They'll scream it's unfair. They'll say neocolonialism. And they're willing accomplices in South Africa's media, at the New York Slimes, at the Washington Compost, will go right lockstep with them and say the same thing. But normal people see through the BS now. They see through it. Sanctions on the South End banks and oil blockades and ports. Well, Jan, that's not impossible, but that would definitely hurt South Africans. That's for darn sure. People in South Africa can change things around this country today if we all just stand together. Exactly. Black, white, and brown stand together. Christian, Muslim, Jew. Ex-post from other government officials is going to be very interesting today, as are their comments on Newsroom Africa. Yeah, Natalie, can you dim the lights? Oh my goodness. That's us. So you think you're special. That's we're going to make a song, So You Think You're Special, but I didn't get around to it because I was busy earlier. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, so tomorrow's Wednesday. Busy day as always. It's my Wednesday. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. It's good to see almost 400. This is what we were getting just a few weeks ago. Good to see more people popping in here. Given your unique experience with Africa as a whole, how well could South Africa truly recover given the constraints of the continent? Well, Hannes, if you made me dictator, I can fix South Africa almost instantaneously. Absolutely. Things are so bad that I can turn it around very quickly. Very quickly. The problem, though, is that I have a very short lifespan because the actions I would take would cripple the gangsters, the criminal syndicates, and all the people involved in crime. And that would make, have a target the size of Montana on my back. Yeah, that's the problem. Because the ANC's allowed things to get so bad that's the problem. If you didn't have the criminal syndicates and crime, it would be a very quick turnaround. Things are so bad, it takes very little change direction. And that's what I said with my conversation that I had with David Ansara from the Free Market Foundation on yesterday. And I said, look, we can look at Zimbabwe in 2008 when people were loading up wheelbarrow loads full of currency to go buy a loaf of bread, like Weimar Germany. And they had trillion% inflation and multi-trillion or gazillion notes and that sort of nonsense. And the country was imploding. They had an election in 2008. The MDC won the election, including the office of president, but the criminal Robert Mugabe refused to leave office, even though he was defeated, even though ZANU-PF stuffed ballot boxes, murdered people, and all sorts of shenanigans happened. They still lost the election, and he refused to leave office. And SADC became a collusionary actor going along and forcing a government of national unity, with the MDC getting a fake prime minister position for Morgan Tsvangirai, which had no authority whatsoever. The ZANU-PF controlling the police, the intelligence, the foreign ministry. But the one thing they did give up to the MDC was finance. And Tendai Biti turned that country around like that. He dropped the Zimbabwean dollar, which had no value whatsoever, not even as kindling, and he adopted the dollar as the currency. And overnight, Zimbabwe stabilized. Overnight. And they ran with that for a while. They also accepted rands, but the rands, not many people use rands. Most people use dollars. And that's how they saved the economy. So you can change things overnight. What I'm saying is that if you eliminate all racist legislation for BE tomorrow, South Africa will begin immediate recovery. Foreign direct investment will begin to pour into the country, even though crime is out of control, even though the infrastructure is collapsing, because there's so much opportunity in South Africa. Plus, it's still a potential launch pad for all of Africa, which is a massive growing continent with a huge consumer class that will be there by 2050. So you can fix South Africa. And things are so bad that you'll see the changes almost immediately. It's not like a country that's mostly developed, and like Botswana, which hasn't collapsed yet, but has problems. But Botswana is pretty well advanced, and the danger isn't that bad. So if you start making changes, they'll be slow and incremental. But in South Africa, they'll be wholesale and instantaneously noticeable. Yep. Hello, Andre Mostart. Yeah, just NEBE, the economy grow 2 to 3% more per year, easily, if not more. That's just one thing that can be changed quickly. Exactly, Dirk Kutsia. That's what make me the king, make me the dictator. I'll fix that. Next, money goes into policing, community policing, not riding around in cruisers, community policing. Get your fat asses out there on the street, ride horseback, or walk a beat. Yep. MBE and repeal EWC, and foreign investors will flood back to South Africa. People want to invest. Exactly. It's exactly right, Dirk. That's my point. I'd love to invest in South Africa, but I can't because I'm not stupid. ANC reminds me of my life growing up with non-whites. They never liked being responsible for much, and when they were caught, they blamed somebody else. Okay. Honestly, I think South Africa will need a government resembling an apartheid government to turn the ship around, especially extremely tough on crime and lawlessness. Well, that's another thing I do is be very tough on crime. I would just completely gut the Ministry of Justice. It's a joke. The Department of Justice is an absolute joke in South Africa. No one gets prosecuted. No one that should be prosecuted. The National Prosecuting Authority is also a joke. South Africa, you're right, Chris, is a country of no consequences for criminals and for thugs and for thieves. Remember those days, fear of landmines. Yep. Yes, the minute the aberration of the three-legged pig of BE and all its spin-offs are gone, instant improvement. In the famous words of Musk, demographics don't lie. Change should be easy, but it won't be, even under the best conditions. They don't pay me for a freelance first responder degree. Liz, what are you talking about? ANC got to power by intimidating their own people. Well, by necklacing people. That's how they got to power. All right, Tom, have a good day. Our fear of terrorism in the time of National Party was high level, but the government protected us then. Yep. Pardon my language, but Cyril versus Trump is like a fart against thunder. Cyril and his goons even looked out of place in the White House, in my opinion. Yeah, they did. You can all. It's hard to shake the feeling that we've crossed the event horizon to collapse. Yes, I think that South Africa, through no action of its own today, may have just crossed the Rubicon. They may have just been pushed in a dinghy across the Rubicon. Yes, Julius Caesar, you've crossed the Rubicon. There's no turning back. I think, honestly, we're going to find his future. We might make the argument that the ANC crossed the Rubicon in May of 2025, when they tried to go with the dog and pony show and deceive the White House and Donald Trump and all of his secretaries sitting there. That was when they crossed the Rubicon. Oh, you went past Sharpeville, says Viper. Okay. BE is and has become the most racist policy enacted. It should never have lasted more than 2 terms. It should never have lasted 1 minute. Never lasted 1 minute. When you see the interview that Gareth Cliff did me today, I tackled the issue of racism, and that's one of the things I talked about. Saw a post from Malawi complaining that South Africa was running illegal training camps for terrorists near their border. I didn't see that post, but I'm aware of the allegations. We found out that some people from Libya were being trained at a camp, and that was in Mpumalanga, but that was disbanded. That's months ago. I don't know what this current argument is. Just love the fact that the world finally sees ANC and its leaders for what they truly are. The idea of, not everybody does, Dirk. Not everybody does. So, yep, not everybody does. Anyway, so, Gawi, welcome to you. Funky Car Guard. Yeah, welcome back to you. So Ramaphosa, according to News 24, buckled from DA pressure. This is a joke. No, he didn't buckle. If he buckled, we would have fired all of the corrupt ministers. But instead, he had no place to go, no maneuver space. So he gets rid of the dead weight that is Nkabane. President Ramaphosa fired Nobule Mkabani as a higher education and training minister on Monday. She's accused of, among other things, lying to Parliament. They're saying he caved into pressure from the DA and fired her, a move that will ensure the passing of the budget by Parliament. Well, it won't be voted for by the EFF or by MK. So that's 57 plus 39. That's over 100 votes are out the window. But the DA will fall in line and, supplicate themselves before their master in Lutuli House. Did you guys know that the headquarters for the Democratic Alliance is located at Tule House? Yeah, they have a subsidiary office there. It's where they get their orders from. Liz, I don't know what you're talking about. Foot patrols. What's that got to do with wages and the bar exam? It has nothing to do with it. What are you talking about, Liz? So I'll post from, excellent news coverage, Colonel, and thank you for Republican Ronnie Jackson and company for pushing, and John James. Good morning, Joe Kruger. Cyril just gave up a sacrificial lamb to get the budget passed. The budget is more important than his corrupt minister. Yeah, and he only gave up one corrupt minister. So the DA, which will crow about this, didn't gain anything. All the other corruption accused are still there, including Paul Mashatile, Cyril Ramaphosa. The list is endless. She'll be redeployed. That's correct. She'll probably be put in the provincial legislature in Eastern Cape. Propaganda that whites want apartheid is the lie, but there's only a card they play out. Well, not many people are saying that, but yes, they do that. They do say that. She's token Patsy yet. And the DA's falling for it. Yeah, they're going to crow about how they're just like they crowed about how they stopped the VAT. Woo, you stopped 0.5% VAT. Meanwhile, they're going to spend more than 0.5% of GDP on the national dialogue. Looks like the South Africa needs to look at China instead of trade. No, it's Dougzilla, that's a wholly ignorant position. What are the tariffs on South African agricultural products into China, Dougzilla? Do you know? 30 and 40% of most products. Many products are banned. There's also quotas. You can't ship to China. They don't want your shit. They don't want anybody's shit. I call jellyfish sway, says Xavier. Government collapse is probably inevitable at the rate they're going, but with a strong citizen, we can rebuild South Africa. Sadly, our money value is going to the dump soon, and everything is going to get more expensive. That's possible, particularly since you don't make anything. It's all imported now. Had a chuckle imagining the police of this country on horseback or foot. Well, expat family Joubert, I've seen the police on horseback in Peter Maritzburg as late as 2010. So it's been 15 years ago. But 15 years ago, there were still police on horseback patrolling the streets of Durban in the central business district right by the Gandhi statue. DA were making much of stopping bread price increase, even put out a photo. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. ANC confuses resign with reassign. Exactly. Stopping 0.5% on VAT and get 3% on fuel. Exactly. Dunces. Yep. Very eager to see where the DA falls on the vote of no confidence. Let the chips fall they may. Well, Strut cut. I don't think they're going to vote against Ramaphosa. The DA is selling you a bill of goods, as are many analysts in South Africa saying that, well, this is the best option. Business wants Ramaphosa. Really? Does business want Ramaphosa? The same Ramaphosa and the ANC that are going to take 3% of corporate profits, after-tax profits, they're going to take another 3% of your profit and give it to people based on their skin color. Business wants that. Business wants no electricity, potholes that kill people and cause cars to flip over, no rails, airports that can't provide fuel, their data system shut down. That's what business wants? I don't believe that at all. Not for a heartbeat. As a lifeguard, they suggest it's my job to stop Matt. Liz, are you just a troll? What the hell are you going on about? Is something wrong with you? I noticed the other night, too. You're just babbling on about all this. You're a lawyer. You're a car guard. You're a lifeguard. What the hell's going on with you, Liz? We have horse patrols in central business at Cape Town. There you go. The Metro Police have an equine unit in Dirt Bend used for public policing. Okay. Soon we will all be bathing in rivers and dams again. DA are captured, says David. Add in the new quotas in September. Yeah, there you go. Only 4% of your managerial staff can be white males. What kind of nonsense is that? Chips fall in place. Yep. Yeah, Theo says Khatfall. Yes, in Kabani. The Two Oceans Marathon. Remember that? Remember that in Bruglio about the Two Oceans Marathon? Well, that sinks in clarity now. Liz, you said you're a lawyer. You said you're a lifeguard. I mean, how many jobs have you had? I mean, that's why I'm asking if you're just trolling. Two Oceans Marathon drama. Chair steps down as new board looks to steady the ship. Well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, you can't swim in the river because it's full of sewage. Leadership change. Have you been to the Vaal River? Oh, God. Leadership changes have created turbulence for the Two Oceans Marathon, putting next year's event at risk. Tony Kavanaugh stepped down amid controversy and a threat of no confidence vote. The Two Oceans Marathon. Earlier this year, Kavanaugh, the Two Oceans Marathon, filed an urgent application to Gauteng Court in Johannesburg, taking legal action against blogger Stuart Mann over a critical post published on his blog, The Running Man, following this year's event on April 5th and 6th. In his post, Mann accused Kavanaugh of embellishing her running record, claiming she had completed 9 marathons and more than 50 half marathons, and said, citing a source, that she was not as successful in business as she claimed. Last month, Judge Sina Yakub ruled that Kavanaugh's case lacked merit and that she had failed to prove Mann's publications were defamatory. So who wins? Mr. Man wins. Mr. Running Man wins, and Kavanaugh's out. She's gone. She's gone. Don't forget the influence of mega donors on the GNU. Michel Leroux, Oppenheimer's, Rupert Motsepe. They have tremendous sway in trying to keep the government from collapsing. Yeah, well, they may have a lot of sway, but the people of South Africa are going to rise up. This stuff keeps happening. I've spoken to a few black folks in recent weeks. They're convinced that BRICS will be the savior. Please, give them my handle. Tell them to watch my content. There is no BRICS. There is no BRICS. Just another brick in the wall is a fantasy. BRICS is the organization that has trade barriers. China blocks your agricultural exports. You only get some things in. Thank you, Betty, for the super chat. You're welcome. Yeah, there is no rescue from BRICS. I'd love to see it, but it ain't going to happen. I mean, they've had months to do something. The BRICS did not provide the $4.3 billion. No, actually, the Development Bank did. So you did get that. The New BRICS Bank did give South Africa $1 billion, but that was 5 years ago. $1 billion 5 years ago. Nothing since then. So that's $200 million over 5 years per year. That's nothing. No, there's no AIDS in the water. The Vaal is a natural disaster. It's an embarrassment. Private individuals have stepped up clean. I'm well aware of it, Xavier. I've been to the Vaal River. I've been downstream from the dam. And I was invited to go to the dam itself, but I couldn't make it on this last trip. Herman says, is it possible for you to look into Soleil Madbella and illegal chrome washing plants in Rustenburg and Brits? Herman, I could ask about it. I don't know much about illegal plants there. Send me a message and remind me of that, and I'll see if I can't find some information on it. Cracker Barrel Kid, of course business doesn't want all the ANC policies, but the fact is that's not going to change without reducing ANC voter share. Well, it's been reduced. They only have 40% of the vote. Just a question. Not sure if I missed or as late, but I heard Osborne. Yes, he did. 76 years of age, Ozzy Osbourne died. Yep. I think it was yesterday. Business must say no more. Yep. Dirk says, BRIC countries' first priority is looking after their own interests. Helping the ANC will only worsen their own position with the U.S. They won't compromise that. Not only will it worsen their position with the U.S., but it won't help any of them. What are they going to gain? What will China gain by reducing tariffs against South African agricultural imports, for instance? Or letting South Africa ship more cars to China? What will they gain? The Chinese are trying to ship their cars to South Africa, and they are. They flooded the marketplace with crappy cars. BRICS is not going to solidify. The tariffs have already been in effect for 3 months, and there's been no movement by BRICS. Mom wants to move to America. She told me that she wants to live in New York City. Nadine, where does she live now? New York City is like no other place in the world. And 15 years ago it was amazing. It was clean. It was wonderful. Lovely town. New York City. The only place to live in New York City is Manhattan, and Manhattan sucks. It's unbelievably expensive. You have to be rich to live there. A decent life. So I don't know what to tell you. BRICS is going to breaks. Cape Town. Well, Cape Town is a small village compared to New York City. Manhattan is bigger than Cape Town. Yeah, no. And Cape Town is not from Sea Point to frickin' Gordons Bay. That's not Cape Town. They may have the postal address. Cape Town is the Central Business District. That's Cape Town. Yep. You heard any more about Turkcell? No, I haven't, Don T. The story's not really going anywhere right now. Charles says, New York sucks lemons. You need lots of money to live there. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Maybe I saw quite a few when you were going to the canteen as they came to clinic. Or are you talking to Charles? I'm like, what are you guys talking about there? Anyway, yeah, folks. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Stuff is going on. And meanwhile, I mentioned previously and yesterday that the United States is once again withdrawn from UNESCO, the United Nations Cultural and Scientific Organization. We're out. U.S. says they'll leave the United Nations Cultural and Education Agency, UNESCO, accusing it of supporting woke, divisive, cultural, and social causes. Well, it does. UNESCO's Director General Audrey Azoulay described the decision as regrettable but anticipated. The move is the latest step in the Trump administration's efforts to cut ties with international bodies after removing the U.S. from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement, as well as cutting funding for foreign relief efforts. Okay, first off, that's a very misleading paragraph. The United States is not withdrawing from international bodies. It's suspending participation in corrupt ones. The Paris Climate Agreement is not a body. We're not, see, this is the problem. This is lazy. Who is the journalist who wrote this? Let me see. You got a journalist? Yaroslav Lukiv. Yaroslav Lukiv wrote this for the British Broadcasting Corporation. It's just propaganda. Let me explain something to you, Yaroslav. The United States was never part of the Paris Climate Accord. What? No, we weren't. We weren't. In order for us to participate in a treaty, it must be negotiated by the executive branch, sent to the Senate for ratification. If the Senate doesn't ratify a treaty, then we're not a party to it. The Senate, under Democrats and under Republicans, has refused to ratify the Paris climate scam. Neither party was willing to ratify it in the Senate. It's never been voted on. So Barack Obama signed us up for something he had no authority to sign us up for. And the idiots in the press said, well, the U.S., when Trump became president, they can't withdraw. There are conditions. No, screw your conditions. We're not part of it. We just had a corrupt regime that started abiding by it and enforcing those standards on Americans, illegally putting in policies in the Environmental Protection Agency, which weren't law, which punished people and made them criminals for not obeying the EPA, which is a administrative bureaucracy. It was illegal. We're not a party to the Paris Climate. We were never a party. Trump withdrew us. We weren't a party of it. There was nothing to withdraw from. It's stupid. There are stupid people out there. This is very simple, folks. All they have to do is get off their ass and read the Constitution. Not a particularly complicated document, not particularly long. It says right here, checks and balances, co-equal branches of government, the legislative, judicial, and the executive. The legislative has veto power. And the Senate, the senior body of the bicameral legislature, has the ability to thwart foreign agreements. And that's what the Senate does. We never signed up for the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks 2. We never signed that treaty. We kind of abide by it, but we never signed the treaty because the Senate refused to ratify it. So this nonsense, people don't know what they're talking about, including this journalist. Yeah, UNESCO has 194 member states around the world and is best known for listing World Heritage Sites. The U.S. decision will take effect from December of next year. State Department said UNESCO's globalist ideological agenda for international development was at odds with our America First foreign policy. It also described the inclusion of the Palestinians in UNESCO in 2011 as highly problematic, contrary to U.S. policy and contributing to proliferation of anti-Israel rhetoric within the organization. Spot on. Yep. UNESCO gets 8% of its budget from the U.S. So bye-bye to that. Now, this one's entertaining, folks. Some of you are going to love this. Greenville, South Carolina, nice place to settle down. You possibly have any information about how it is to live there. It's hot. It's humid. It's if you don't like black folks and if you're black, you're going to love it there. If you don't like black folks, you're not going to love it there. If you don't care whether someone's black or white, it won't matter to you. South Carolina is one of the highest percentage of black population in the country. That shouldn't affect your decision one way or the other. It's just a statement of fact. But it's humid, has a decent economy, it's lovely culture, but not my cup of tea. I would only visit in the wintertime. I also think climate change is a scam. Yes, Dogzilla. The political scam hoax of climate change is exactly that. Does climate change? Absolutely. Absolutely. The perturbations of the planet rotating on its axis, circling around the sun and the solar system, and then periodic dozen-year solar flare storms that kick out photons and have impact on this planet. The perturbations of Jupiter, the impact of Jupiter on our weather, on our planet, the speed of rotation, all of this, the distancing of the moon pulling away from the earth is affecting tides over time. Of course, there's climate change. But the argument that humans are responsible is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. It's junk science. It's been proven to be junk science. So yeah. Yes, Dogzilla. That's right. It's a political hoax. Doesn't mean climate isn't changing. Doesn't mean climate isn't an issue. But the arrogance, the hubris of human beings, the sheer arrogance of human beings, it's unbelievable. By the way, Dogzilla, we caught the British scientists' hoax. They manipulated climate data. They took climate data in the UK in their chain of universities and they altered it because it didn't match their claims. And they got caught. This is 20 years ago. You don't remember this? That's the hoax. They lied about it. Lied about it. Yes, and Natasha, it never gets old. China vehicle imports have decimated Toyota production. Who does not even export to U.S.? Oh, yeah. Was on the article you read. What, Rudolph? What are you talking about? Oh, quite amazing to see on your screen while doing the news there was a poll on all Chinese car brands. Oh, yeah, that was there. That was on, wasn't that on the IOL? No, what was on what? It was on news. Where's it at? Yeah, I saw that poll too. I just ignored it. I don't see it now. It was one of those anyway. Yeah, anyway, I did see that. Yeah, Necrocrux. A lot of people love Greenville, South Carolina. There's a BMW plant there, if I'm not mistaken. Morning, everyone. Just watched Colonel Chris video on the bill. What good news. Okay, Arthur, how's it going? The reason I ask is because this USA and South Africa separation of power systems very similar, except it does not work. Well, that's true, Leon. It doesn't work in South Africa. How long has Putin been in power? Well, if you count the fact that Medvedev was his boy and he did what Putin told him, Putin's never left power for, 25 years now or something like that? What are your thoughts on the firearms used to murder DJ Somebody and his bodyguards? I don't have an opinion on that, Irene. I don't know enough about it. People are sending me all kinds of things. Lots of information is breaking in that story. I don't really have a place to comment on that one right now. I'm sorry, Irene, but I don't. Rand has fallen greatly. Well, from some point in history, it certainly has. Okay. Dogzilla's gone very quiet. Steve Newell, welcome to you. Our rands are stronger than the US dollar at one stage. That's true. Jarethra, 100% with your reviews on climate change. Yeah, they were all doctors. I know, Xavier, and they got caught, and the story got buried. It got buried. It was big news, but it got buried. No one wants to remember that. British scientists doctoring climate data. Let me find that story. British. Climate change study. There it is. British Sciences University of East Anglia's Climate Research Unit doctored a climate change study based on emails and documents hacked from their servers in 2009. These allegations sparked the ClimateGate controversy. Several so-called independent investigations in the UK found no evidence of scientific misconduct. Yeah, right. My goodness. Anyway, ultimately, the consensus among scientists to find these multiple investigations affirm the hacked emails do not undermine the scientific consensus. Yeah, so they caught them lying, but then they say ultimately the consensus is it doesn't undermine the argument that human caused global warming. Why did they have to fake the data? Is a modern day Russia communist? No, Russia's not communist. It's an oligarchy. It's totalitarian. It's tyrannical, but it's not communist. Fake reports just to make more money out of ordinary citizens all sit on fear because of holes in the ozone. Well, we actually had holes in the ozone. That's true. We do. They come periodically, but they appear over Antarctica. And they really only affect the penguins. So, and we were using chlorofluorocarbon, CFCs, for refrigerant and other things. And those things were destroying ozone. And we had a serious problem with a big, enlarged, growing hole in the ozone. The United States phased out CFCs 30-some years ago, and we weren't the only ones. And so the ozone layer has recovered for the most part. But the ozone layer is beaten by solar winds, by the particles coming from the sun. It beats against the ozone layer and punches holes in it. It's not just human change, but we did have an impact, and we stopped it, and the thing recovered very quickly. Let's take a look at the ozone hole. Let's see if it's ozone layer healing. There you go. The ozone layer is indeed healing thanks to global efforts to reduce ozone-depleting substances. United Nations report indicates the ozone layer is on track to recover within the next few decades. Specifically, the Antarctic ozone hole is projected to be fully recovered by 2066, with most of the rest recovering sooner. Well, this all came about because of the Montreal Protocol, which phased out CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. So here is the area in 2000 and 2018. So take a look at this. So that's the ozone layer that with the gap in it in 2000 on the left-hand side. The blue is where the ozone is depleted. And in 2018, look at that, it's recovered. Much smaller hole in the ozone layer than there was previously. Finally, healing from damage caused by aerosol sprays and coolants. The ozone layer had been thinning since late 70s. Raised alarm and ozone-depleting chemicals were phased out worldwide. As a result, the upper ozone layer above the northern hemisphere should be completely repaired by the 2030s, and the gaping Antarctic ozone hole should disappear by the 2060s. It's really good news. At its worst in the 1990s, about 10% of the upper ozone layer was depleted. Since 2000, it's increased by 1 to 3% per decade. This year, the ozone hole over the South Pole peaked at 9.6 million miles. That's 16% smaller than the biggest hole recorded in 2006. There you go. And it's seasonal. It's seasonal, too. Fake reports just... Okay, I got that right. Okay. I work a lot of research, and the false data analysis, even on accredited platforms, is so prevalent. We have staff just checking to confirm. Exactly, Dirk Kutsia. And, let me just give an example here about how dishonest people are. Over half of all CVs and resumes are full of nonsense. People lie on their resumes in record level. It's shocking how much what people will lie about on their resume. That's why I take great pride. There is nothing on my CV that I didn't do or I never accomplished. Yep. Just emailed the DA and told them they lose my vote for national provincial if they vote for Ramaphosa. Interesting, Ian. Okay. Scientific results will support the theories of those who finance the studies. Yep. Yeah, I was on a program recently, and I was asked a question which the person asked me didn't agree with, and I answered truthfully, and I haven't been invited back on the program. I'm not going to lie. Arctic should be okay because ozone's recovered. Well, it's the Antarctic, not Arctic, where it's going down. Chris, where do we get a copy of the U.S. Constitution? Curious. You can get a PDF copy. I can send you one. Yep, let's say I'll give you a link here. So, PDF U.S. Constitution. There you go. It came up straight away. PDF U.S. Constitution. The National Constitution Center has it. The Senate has it. Let's see which one. Okay. Let me see which one's more user-friendly. Okay. I like this one better. Okay, Constitution Center. This is lovely. All right, so here's where you want to go. Just download it, and you've got it. Piece of cake. Piece of cake, folks. There you go. That is the U.S. Constitution. It is a beautiful document. Absolutely beautiful document. I'll pin that at the top. Pin the message. Okay. Do DA watch your channel? Yes, they do, Karen. The DA watches my channel. The EFF watches my channel. The ANC watches my channel. I know that Freedom Front Plus members watch my channel. I don't know that anybody from PA watches it. Also, I know that a lot of trolls watch the channel. Newsroom Africa watches it. Daily Maverick watches it. Cockprot24 watches my channel. They've got people from all these organizations watching my channel. Absolutely. They sure do. Scientists also forgot the tilting angle of the Earth, and they add in black swan solar flares. Exactly. Why do our qualification associations degrade the GED, which is now only being accepted? I have no idea, Nadine, what you're asking. The GED is General Equivalency Diploma. If you didn't graduate high school in America, you can take an examination. If you pass it, you get the equivalent of a high school diploma without having gone. It's recognized as a graduate out of grade 12. I'm not sure what you're asking. Dogzilla says 2023 and 2024 are the hottest years average ever recorded. Yeah, and how long have we been recording climate data, Dogzilla? How long? The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. How long have we been recording climate data? 120 years? (1880). Climate data has been recorded in the U.S. for over a century with reliable temperature records dating back to 1880. So, the hottest on record? Yeah, of course, Dogzilla. Could be very well the hottest year on record. In 150 years, that's jack squat in a 4.5 billion year old planet. It doesn't mean anything. What was the hottest temperature? Look, we can have this conversation. This nonsense. The data's not there. Do you know where we get the data from? Ice cores. That's one way you get the data. Tree rings, another way we get data. Yep. The hottest ever? No, that's nonsense. We can show dry periods with trees that are 3,000 years old that show worse droughts and higher temperatures than we're experiencing right now. Yeah, you're welcome for the link. Yeah, anyway, come on, man. It's 10. That's right. It's a 10,000-year cycle. We had the Little Ice Age, and we had London's Thames River froze over in the summertime. The summertime. You guys, people are just suckers for the propaganda. They're suckers. Oh, the weather. Look at all the floods. We got floods everywhere. Oh. No, we just have more coverage of it. I mean, we had this conversation about hurricanes. Oh, my God, we've never had hurricanes like that. That's nonsense. Utter nonsense. We never had earthquakes like this. Well, earthquakes aren't tied to climate change. Earthquakes are a consequence of tectonic plate shifting. So I hear climate people, earthquakes are because of climate. No, it's because of tectonic plate shifting. The earth has plates, and they shift and grind against each other. The San Andreas Fault. The Pacific Rim of Fire. This ring of fire, we go down, 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 the ring of fire. Yes, all the way up from New Zealand to Japan to the Aleutians and down to Peru. Yep. I'm asking, why did they remove it from the Bachelor Pass requirement for grade 12 in South Africa in 2018? I have no idea what they did in South Africa in 2018. It's not something I follow, that sort of thing. Yeah, the Little Ice Age. That was, what? In 1000, around the year 1000, the mini ice age, little ice age. Okay, little ice age. Period of regional cooling particularly pronounced in the North Atlantic region. It was not a true ice age in global extent. The term was introduced in scientific literature by Francois Mattes in 1939. Period has conventionally been defined as extending from the 16th to the 19th centuries, but experts prefer an alternative time span from about 1300, which is when I thought it was, to about 1850. Yep. 3 particularly cold intervals. Yep. One about 1650, another about 1770, and the last in 1850. Several causes have been proposed: cyclical lows in solar radiation, heightened volcanic activity, changes in ocean circulation, variations in Earth's orbit, and the axial tilt. Yeah, all of which affect climate, none of which are human. And the Ice Age is what drove out the Vikings from Greenland. Yep. Several dates ranging over 40 years may indicate the beginning of the Ice Age. 1250 for the Atlantic pack ice began to grow, a cold period that was possibly triggered and enhanced by massive eruption of the Samalas volcano in 1257. And that's another thing. Volcanoes spew ash up into the air. Krakatoa spewed all this crap into the air, and for like 3 years, the skies were full of crap, and the global temperatures plunged. Yep. Norse Greenlanders were hit by this hard in the 15th century. Yep. The Baltic Sea froze over twice in 1303 and 1306 to 1307. The Thames River had a frost fair in 1684. So here is an ice fair on the Thames River. Frozen. Whoops, that's not it. Frozen solid. Humans had not released enough carbon into the air to affect this. There you go. That's a painting from the Thames. They had an ice fair, 1684. Here's the Seine, an actual photograph. Frozen solid in 1880. La Seine, le 3e janvier 1880. Vue de Quai Saint-Michel. So that is from Saint-Michel. That is the Seine, frozen over completely. Yeah, anyway. And the same with heat. It comes and goes. Yes, humans have an impact on the climate. Absolutely. Absolutely. But here's the thing. The more carbon dioxide there is, the more plants there are. Because plants consume carbon dioxide, convert it into water and oxygen and sugars for themselves. So, I mean, unfortunately for these zealots, some of us took biology and physiology and things like that in high school, basic science class as well. We teeny weeny humans think we're so superior, so know it all, the vast expanse of the universe, the galaxies, unbeknownst to us, might even have an influence on teeny Earth. Yep. Greta realized the climate scam was nonsense. That's why she's in it for Gaza now. Yep. Even if it's the hottest year ever, I'm still waiting for the data of what percent of humans contribute to the increase, because all models so far have been so inaccurate when tested in the short term. 100%, Cracker Barrel Kid. That said, it's not a wise idea to just burn things. It's not. I agree. It's also not a wise idea to dump your rubbish out here. And have forever chemicals in the environment, and all of us growing breast and freaking widened hips because we're all consuming freaking birth control pills because they're all dumped in the urine that goes into our waste systems and it's not screened for in municipal water systems. And that's not a wise idea. You shouldn't crap in your own backyard. That's why I'm a conservationist. Climate is also what is thought to have caused massive migration in the sea peoples. Yes, that's correct, in the Bronze Age. Exactly right. Exactly right. And led to the invasion and occupation of North Africa by the Phoenicians and the sea peoples. Yep. An impact, but not nearly as much as these scientists. Exactly. Because it's a scam to make money. I mean, let me give you the perfect scam. That's why I talk about this political scam. In Liberia, ladies and gentlemen, when I was there, a Canadian company was getting paid to plant rubber trees. Now, Liberia produces natural latex, about 1% of what Firestone, which is a Japanese company, used to be American, 1% of the natural latex, which is only 1% of their total rubber production. So they don't use much natural latex. These are very specific purposes. Anyway, they were paid to plant rubber trees because rubber trees, they mature. Then I think you produce, the rubber for 10 to 15 years, and then they don't produce anymore. So they went in the rubber plantations at Firestone and the surrounding areas. They cut down the trees, and they planted new ones. They got paid by a German power company, I think RWE, climate credits. They were given climate credits for planting trees to absorb carbon dioxide. But they cut down perfectly healthy trees that weren't producing rubber, but were consuming carbon dioxide. And then what did they do with those trees? Did they bury them as a carbon store? No. They ground them up into chips, and they burned them. They burned them to produce electricity. So the Canadian company got paid by RWE, I think it was RWE, money for planting trees. They cut down the other trees. So now these little trees are tiny. They aren't consuming nearly as much carbon dioxide as a fully mature tree. So that's the first thing. So it's already a negative carbon dioxide output equation right there. And then they burn the trees, releasing the carbon dioxide into the air. And they got money for that because they produced electricity, which people bought. So they were making money from producing electricity by burning trees and producing carbon dioxide, but they're getting paid to plant trees by a German utility. It's a scam. It's a total fraud. Total scam. Exactly, Theo Holmes. They're complaining about global warming, but I don't see them complaining about the rubbish left on the streets of Africa and left in the communities of Africa. Yep. Pollution is a campaign for people who, with no manners, littering their crap everywhere. Yep. I recycle. In a short period, I recycled over 250,000 aluminum cans by picking them up on the side of the road because I'm anal about rubbish on the road. I can't stand it. See, on Trump's social, there was a nice settlement paid for spreading the fake news. What are you talking about, Sandra? That's very cryptic. All right, Blow Cup, you got the PDF. Cool. Connect the dots. Scam, scam, scam. Again, that doesn't mean we don't have any impact on the environment. I'm just saying that what we're talking about here, there's a lot of scam going on. Anyway, folks, let me take a look and see if anybody's been watching that video. We were talking about a little while ago. So that's just 2,000 views, but that's not the most accurate data. So that's just 5,000 now. So, well, let's see how it's going. All right, it's now up to 11,000 in 2.5 hours. That's not bad. Hopefully, we do well. But mostly my viewers. The other people aren't seeing it. So the more of you go watch that video, if you comment on it, that'll draw more people in because the algorithm will kick in and we'll get people that aren't my viewers and maybe discover it and become subscribers. That would be nice. Got 119 comments. Don't see how this will help South African, says Elza. Well, when the ANC fat cats cannot visit HERs or I said, well, when the ANC fat cats cannot visit Harrods or the Big Apple and can't use their credit cards, then we'll see. Yep. It's the theory that electric cars is better. Electric cars are a disaster. We've already proven this. It takes like 8 to 11 years, depending on the type of car and the size of the battery, before the environmental degradation, the carbon release from sourcing the material to produce and transport all that material and the rare earths destroying the environment to get tiny amounts of rare earth. It takes 8 to a dozen years to equal the carbon output from a car that's been burning for 12 years. So the carbon dioxide released from manufacturing a bucky or a sedan, a saloon, it takes an electric car 8 to 12 years before the amount that it's already released before they equalize. So if you buy a internal combustion engine car and use it for 5 or 6 years and then recycle it, you're producing less carbon dioxide than buying a single electric vehicle. And the electric vehicle, that's right there from the get-go. From the get-go. It's produced all that carbon dioxide and done environmental degradation to make that electric car. Whereas the traditional car hasn't produced all that destruction, and it will produce carbon dioxide and pollution as it's been around for a time. But if you get an electric car and 2 months after you buy it, you total it in an accident, it produced all that carbon. You're never going to get the benefit of having reduced carbon by having an electric car. And when you recycle the battery, which goes in landfill, you're destroying the environment. So electric cars are a scam. Hybrids, on the other hand, not so bad. Expired solar panels are also a nightmare. Yep. People are too lazy to place their rubbish in bins. Yeah. Yeah, I can't stand filthy people, Rex. I'm with you on that. Carbon credits is one of the biggest scams ever orchestrated, and a lot of companies fell for it. I had clients buying and trading credits to seem green for investors. Well, it's like the grüne Punkt. I mean, this is when I first became aware of these scams back in the 1980s. So in Germany, they came up with this voluntary scheme, which a lot of pressure was put on corporations to be part of it, called the grüne Punkt. That was the green dot. So you got a green dot if you paid fees from the sale of your items, which they passed on to consumer, raising prices. The money went into a fund, and that fund was used to recycle the stuff. All right. The problem is that they couldn't recycle a lot of it. It wasn't recyclable. So what happened was the Germans got caught. Everyone's feeling good about themselves. We're all green. We care about the environment. We've taken care of the planet. We've got the grüne Punkt. We've picked up your packaging, and then your used stereo when it's disused. We collect it and we recycle it. Except they weren't. They got caught sending boatloads of plastic rubbish to be buried in landfills in Thailand. They got caught. Yeah, they got caught. Yeah. And the worst thing about all this stuff is just how stupid the world got. Things got so bad that in America, it became unprofitable to recycle things, especially paper and glass, but even things beyond that. So we began shipping our recyclables instead of recycling them here in the county where they were recycled after years. The Chinese undercut the market, and everyone sent their paper, their cardboard, their copper, their stuff to China, shipping it over the ocean, producing carbon dioxide from kerosene burning. By the way, do you know that like 3 or 4% of the total carbon dioxide output comes from the global fleet of container ships? Did you know that? You could reduce carbon dioxide output by as much as 5% by stopping global shipping. Tonight, just stop all the ships, turn the engines off, let them sit. You'd reduce carbon dioxide. That's how polluting they are. Or you could build ships that don't burn kerosene, burn natural gas or something like that. Anyway, recycle and reuse a lot of our milk, water bottles, polystyrene, helping us save money on pot plants. Pot plants? Oh, I don't want to talk about that. You mean potted plants or pot plants as in license registration sign on the back of the car, man. It's like the theory that electric cars is better. They're not. I scuba dive. You must see what crap we pull out of the ocean. Oh, I know, Arthur. It's disgusting what people dump in the ocean. Why on earth would climate scientists use sophisticated tools like from space to be committing some scam? Well, because there's money in it, Dogzilla. There's money in it. Just like the reason why there's a whole plethora of non-government organizations for every cause you can think of. There's money to be made. People need to be directors of these NGOs. They need to have a board of directors. They pay them. They have to have staff. They get money. They get foundations. They get fame. They get attention. They get to feel good about themselves. Yeah, same reason. Climate scientists got to latch on to something. Yep. And I didn't say everyone that's doing it's a scam artist, Dogzilla. You're just making a blanket assumption there. No, I'm just saying that there's a lot of fraud in it. Delegates with their private jets and consumption, the World Economic Forum. Look, I mean, I went to our day, okay, guys? Okay, I was a guest speaker at our day. think it's our day. I think it's our day. I just went through this. Where's it at? I'm trying to find it. Anyway, there's a... Which one is it? I can't find it. Anyway, I was taken out there. I went out there for a climate summit in Aspen, Colorado. So I flew out there. And I rented a car and I drove from Denver. And I went out and I attended the conference. I met, what's his name there? The American General, Wes Clark. I met Wes Clark. I filmed a portion. I wound up in a Hollywood documentary. I have Screen Actors Guild credits. And I did it with Wes Clark's son. And then with Wes Clark, we and I chatted in the quaking aspens of Aspen, Colorado. I gave my presentation on energy in Africa. And then, as part of a panel, when it was over, I left and I drove, instead of going towards Denver, I drove back way towards Aspen, because this was before Aspen, and I drive past the airport. And what do I see at the airport? About 85 private jets. Jets. All these billionaires and rich people. Tom Stein was there, or whatever his name was. The billionaire. All of them were there. All these rich people about the environment. Air Day. It's Air Day or something. What the hell is that called? Anyway. Is it AER? AER Day. Let me see. Nah, not finding it. Anyway, so I went out there, and all these rich people flying and producing more carbon than I'll probably produce my entire life just to attend a conference on climate. It was such a scam. Such a scam. Yep. President Reagan helped the ANC get into power, and now Reagan didn't help the ANC get into power. What are you smoking? What are you smoking? President Reagan tried to stop the ANC. What are you talking about, Storm? Stop making up history. I chose a random beach in Somalia on Google Earth, zoomed in, and oh my God, the beach is all trash while people are still there as if it's normal. Exactly, Natasha. Yes, Nicola Ozzy Osbourne died. Yep. Oh no, I mentioned it earlier in the program. It must have been the individual revolution of 1000. To change the topic with permission, just dished my kitties their daily brekkie. Same dry pellets this morning and every meal before. Part 2 to follow. Okay? Can I give you a link to a video? It's impossible, Storm, because you're not a moderator or content creator. YouTube doesn't allow you to put a link in there. If you explain to me what your point is here, you're going to make a claim and you're going to tell me I'm going to watch a video that's going to show that he brought them power. That's simply not true. I lived through that era. I served in the military in that time. Not true. Your last YouTube short about gratitude and staff is getting impatient for the massive gift. Oh, okay. Yeah, people who litter. I don't have a lot of respect for those people. Amazing yacht destinations. How are things going? So glad to hear that your wife is cancer-free. It was your wife was cancer-free, wasn't it? I hope apologize if I'm wrong. Or no, I'm sorry, your wife just got the diagnosis, did she not? I'm sorry, Amazing Yacht Destinations. You guys are coming back to South Africa. Sorry. Okay, a lot of people are against ANC policies. Yeah. 150 years is not long enough to make any realistic analysis. Exactly, Charles Van Olsen. You cannot take 150 years of climate data and make extrapolations about the 4.5 billion year history of this planet. Exactly. He had a Cold War. He fought against communism, so I don't see how the argument that he helped the ANC, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Hey, Charles. Thanks for your comment there. Sorry if I misspoke there, Amazing Yacht Destinations. It's late and I'm tired and I've been busy making videos, so apologies for that. Vegetarians complain about wearing leather belts and shoes. Yeah. Lana, I'm with you. I get irritated about people not caring about nature too. I'm a conservationist, and my view is you don't piss in your own backyard. We're supposed to be good stewards of the environment. We're responsible for maintaining status quo or restoring things. You know, it's interesting because we hear all this stuff about nonsense in the environment and how the Amazon is being stripped, which it is, and destruction in the tropics and yada yada yada. Meanwhile, there's more trees in North America than any point since Europeans arrived. Yeah, the Europeans arrived in New England and stripped the forest bare in many places to plant and rocky soil, which was not conducive for agriculture, but that's where they lived at. And they continued as they went west. We had lots of forests stripped for the growth and development of the country. But now there's more forest cover in North America than at any point since Europeans arrived in the 17th century. Michael Moore was involved in a documentary exposing how supposedly green renewable energy isn't beneficial as they try to con you. Batteries are toxic. Trump slams wind turbines. Well, wind turbines are toxic too. Reagan had a lot more pressing things to focus on during his term than giving South Africa attention. Wow, an awesome morning. Thank you, Colonel. Man in the mirror. Okay, you got to go. Sorry to see you go. Anyway, no, you can't post the link. I mean, if you want, I can give you, but you need to hang around, Storm. Storm ZA, do you want, there you are. Some more proof. Go have a look at President Reagan's remarks in South Africa with reporters on September 6, 1985. Okay, you're going to cherry pick a date here, and you're going to say it's the whole body of Reagan's foreign policy. Reagan, September 6th, 1985. Photo opportunities, remarks with South Africa. Okay, well, that's on YouTube from the Reagan Library.
President of the United States.
$1985. What a great year it was. I miss '85.
Hey, why weren't you all in North Carolina? I know.
Good morning, Blitzen.
Well, I was delighted to learn the exciting news this morning that our unemployment rate has dropped to 6.9%,
Today it's
the lowest level in
4.1%.
over 5 years. 332,000 more Americans were working last month, and today employment in the United States stands at an all-time high. And I believe that's not only in the amount of numbers, but also in the percentage of the overall labor pool. It's interesting to note that this nation, which believes in lower taxes and free and fair trade, has created more than 8 million jobs now in 33 months. We're seeing the proof that America's economy is packing new power. We can keep driving our unemployment rate down. We
All
can
right,
keep
well, it's just 6 minutes. When
opening
does he start?
necessary spending. In South Africa,
Oh, here we go.
Plan for America, a fair share tax
All right, here we
plan
go.
for all. Now, let me add that we are still discussing the subjects of trade and South Africa.
Okay.
Let me direct your questions on the economy to Beryl Sprinkle, because I have to be getting back to the office. The schedule was planned before we knew that I would be coming in here. And
You're going to announce some trade sanctions, Mr. President.
no, as I say, those things are still under discussion. And as quickly as we have something to report on those discussions, we will.
About South Africa.
I can't say that it would be today. I doubt that it would be.
President,
Am I
Senator.
sure about sanctions against South Africa? There's some indication that you want to try and head off a bruising battle with Congress on.
I say both those subjects, trade and South Africa, we're in consultations now on both of those. And when we can, and I hope it won't be too long, we'll be.
Why did you say, sir, that
When you do something about foreign credit, you've got to do something right away on that, haven't you?
That's what we're meeting on. As I say,
Any second thoughts, Mr. President, about your policy of constructive engagement?
I think it's the only thing that's shown any signs of improvement.
Okay, so Storm said, as Ed just said that Reagan helped the ANC. Constructive engagement didn't help the ANC. And he just said it's the only policy that works. So we'll listen a little bit more, but I don't know what you're talking about here, man. This is the video you wanted people to listen to. We're listening. Maybe it'll come in a moment.
in that whole situation as
Do you
yet.
really believe that all segregation has been eliminated in South Africa, Mr. President? You said that in your radio interview.
No, and I didn't intend to say that. I did know that all the people that have been coming back here have been reporting to me on how widespread was this, and I'm sorry that I carelessly gave the impression that I believed that it had been totally eliminated. There are
Wow, look at that. A politician admitting they made a mistake on air. That's what Reagan, he was honest.
areas where it hasn't.
What do you believe is the case in South Africa regarding people's ability to live, to move about freely, to vote?
You'll hear about all of this as soon as we finish these
Still against
consultations.
sanctions, Mr. President. Still
Beryl
against
is
sanctions.
waiting impatiently here to take your
Why do you
questions.
think you were so misinformed about the state of the situation in South Africa in terms of whites and blacks?
Helen, I will answer that one question, and then I'm going to walk out of here and Beryl's going to take over.
Said he was going to leave, but he
I
didn't.
was not nearly as ill-informed as many of you have made it out that I was. I may have been careless in my language in that one thing, but I was talking about improvements that actually do exist there and have been made. But as I say, I know that segregation has not been eliminated.
All right, so the crux of Storm Zeddy's argument is that Reagan called for the release of Nelson Mandela and apartheid in 1986. Yeah, and? So what are you saying, Storm Zeddy, that racial legislation is legitimate? So does that make the ANC's BEE and its racist legislation legitimate today? Racist legislation is immoral, whether it's the National Party or it's the ANC. And Trump calling for an end to apartheid, that doesn't help the ANC. Where do you get that from? That's a huge leap. Calling for the release of Nelson Mandela? How does that help the ANC? This is nonsense. You're making a huge leap there. A huge leap. A huge leap. You're also cherry picking. That exactly, he apologized for misstating something. I heard him say it. You're also making a huge leap, and you're also ignoring the political reality at the time. Reagan vetoed sanctions on apartheid he vetoed the sanctions on apartheid South Africa. They overrode his veto. And you're going to sit here and try and convince the Storm that Reagan supported the ANC? That's basically what you're saying. Or did I misunderstand you? Well, Theo, thank you for sharing the obvious. That's the title of the video. I published a video on it. The title of this stream, yeah. No, it wasn't helping the ANC. In fact, it created a leadership conundrum within the ANC. There were major disputes and arguments and fights for leadership in the ANC. Yes. Yes, there were. The history of the ANC was very fraught. It was not a clear thing that Mandela was even going to be accepted as a leader of the ANC at the time. Guys, you got to know the history of what actually happened here. No, I just make these blank because he called for the release of Nelson Mandela. So he was the only person in the world calling for that. Come on, man. Yeah, so what? He was a terrorist. What's your point, Storm? What's your point? MK was a terrorist organization he founded. So Nelson Mandela was a self-admitted terrorist. He told people he was a terrorist. Look around for Grey Wolf. What's this? Anyway. Yeah, look, that's simply untrue. You know, it's funny to hear you say this, Storm Zeddy, because the black supremacists and ANC hate Reagan because he kept them from getting power. That's their view on Reagan. They hate him. I don't know how you conclude that Reagan supported the ANC. That's not the view that they have. Because, oh gosh, the prevailing view amongst people in policy wonks in government, in governments throughout the world, was that was a potential way to ease the crisis that was unfolding. If you forgot what was happening in 1985, South Africa was on fire. The townships were at war. The army was deployed to the townships. People were dying every day. The country was in jeopardy of falling. One of the arguments that policy people made to the Reagan administration is that calling for the release of Nelson Mandela would tamp this down, and that would help the government survive. I'm not saying they were right. I'm just saying that's one of the arguments. And without knowing that, you can't make this ludicrous claim that he did that. I lived through that time. I remember this. I was in government, in uniform at this time. I remember this very clearly. I'm not saying those people were right, but you have the advantage of looking back on it now, 45 years later, 40 years later, and making a claim. You could be right, but I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Well, Ingrid, we didn't finish it. There's about another minute, 2 minutes left in this video. I'm not going to play it. Plus, the Storm said that they cut the video. They didn't show the whole thing. I don't know. So let me see if they cut it. No, they didn't cut anything. He leaves. Reagan leaves. So let me see. There's only about 40 seconds left here. So let me go back.
Actually do exist there and have been made. But as I say, I know that segregation has not been eliminated totally, and in some areas there's been no improvement, but there has been a great improvement over what has ever existed before.
But there's no vote there, no participation.
No.
So
I was
what?
talking about the specific things of segregation, of
Right.
labor.
Do you see the tactic of the media? She asked him a question. He answered it. But there's no vote there. Listen, dipshit. That's not what you asked about. He answered your question.
And the new things that have taken place with regard to labor and things of that kind.
What about the land tax reform plan in the House Ways and Means Committee, sir?
Will you get
All
tax
labor.
reform this year?
All labor. You've been hearing me talk about tax reform. You'll hear me some more.
What about Gorbachev, Mr. President?
Do you have a reaction to the interview in Time magazine? We haven't heard from you on that yet.
I know. I'll take it up with him in November.
Can you tell us if there's anything new about the Americans still missing in Lebanon?
We're working just as hard as we can.
It was William Buckley.
In every channel that we
He
can.
was murdered.
About that. It's a far different situation than hostages. And the fact that there isn't anything out there every day as there was on the hostage situation doesn't mean that that is not the most important thing for us. And we are doing
You
everything
see
we
no
can.
progress at all in that?
We don't know.
How are you feeling, sir? Any aches or pains?
So they delayed what's happening now because how that was burning at the moment. No, you're responsible for this storm. You're responsible. You people voted since 1994 or didn't vote. You're responsible. You folks voted for the referendum to end apartheid. Majority of white South Africans wanted it. They wanted it gone. They voted. You changed the government. You negotiated with the terrorists. We didn't negotiate with the terrorists. You Afrikaners negotiated with the terrorists at Codesa. Not me. Not Reagan. You want to blame somebody? Look in the mirror. If you're unhappy. We didn't create the mess. Y'all did. Just like 1975 and Luanda. We didn't stop the South African Defense Force from getting to Luanda. Pretoria did that. We didn't do that. Wasn't Kissinger.
No. All should have seen me. No, I feel fine. As a matter of fact, my biggest problems with the doctors is that we're still trying to shorten down the riding time.
When are you going back out to Bethesda, Mr. President, for the checkups, you know?
I don't know, but pretty soon. I know that's a routine thing that has to be done.
A lot of photographs.
We'll have Burl on and we can continue.
Okay, that's the entire press conference. We watch Reagan come in, or I watch him come in, and I watch him leave. There's no mention of releasing Mandela on the 6th of September, 1985. That's from the Reagan Foundation. There's no such thing there, Storm. What are you talking about? Was it another event he did that day? Because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Nothing there. Arthur says, in his opinion, Reagan and Trump are the only two U.S. presidents who didn't support ANC policy. And he was so gentlemanlike in answering Vulture's questions. Yep, Ingrid, he was. Fake history from the ANC created during a brothel by terrorists. South Africa public believe that lying MP Afrikaners are very naive. This is the reason why Afrikaners are always suspicious of everybody. Yep, Strat cut, 100%. 100%. That's why you got these cock prodders that run around and lie about me, and South Africans just believe the nonsense they hear. Yep. Cameras and yeah, they were. They were very noisy. They're all digital now. You don't hear it. Citizens voted for humanity, not for skin color. Wrong is wrong, and this country has been bleeding for years now. Anime, 100%. 100%. Blaming Ronald Reagan for putting the ANC in power is not legitimate. Y'all did that. Y'all did that. Feckless negotiations at Codesa. And there's a beloved Joe. Well, you can have Joe Biden. Joe Biden definitely is a clown. I'm well aware of what Joe Biden said in 1986, and I've been calling him out for it over years, long before he became president of my country. And again, Joe Biden didn't have the authority to get rid of apartheid. Joe Biden didn't end apartheid. The sanctions didn't end apartheid. The National Party ended apartheid. The same people that lied to you for years. Yeah, people believe whatever bullshit they want to believe. Unfortunately, for some of y'all, I was there. I lived this, and some of you lived this. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, when I started my channel, we had these people coming, oh, Kissinger, it's America's fault. You know, we had Angola. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Talk to the troops who were on the ground, running out of ammunition, running out of fuel, running out of spare parts before they got to Luanda, running out of troops. He didn't have the resources, but it's Kissinger's fault. No, it's not. Kissinger made us stop. Really? Did Kissinger get out there with a paddle and stand in front of your Rui folks, not your Rui folks, your Rui Cats and your Elans, and stand out there on the highway to Luanda going, no, you can't go any further. I'm Henry Kissinger. Stop it. Come on, man. The National Party created this mess with the terrible negotiations. Exactly. They were feckless. They rolled over and took it up the ass. Yep. Who won Cuita Cunavale? The South Africans did. The South Africans won Cuita Cunavale in grand fashion. Great odds against them, and they schwacked the Cubans, they schwacked the Angolans. Cuita Cunavale was an amazing victory. It was one of the most impressive battles in all of African history. Oh, so now the USA helped. You said Reagan helped. USA helped ANC. Nancy went back to their roots in Linus. You know what, Storm? You believe what you want, man. You can believe what you want. Blame America for it, because you're not going to change your worldview, and the facts aren't going to matter to you. The only thing America did that helped the ANC was Congress overrode Reagan's veto and applied sanctions. But that didn't put the ANC in power. It's not responsible. That is not the proximate cause. The proximate cause of the ANC going into power is the end of the Cold War. And the mechanism for them going into power was twofold: the referendum and fucked up negotiations by the National Party at Codesa. That's how you got to where you're at. And then a lot of you believe in kumbaya instead of keeping you laser focused on the political situation. I mean, you have a lovely constitution. It's just rubbish. The ANC wipes their asses with the Constitution. Alan says, yes, they did. I was there. Alan, that doesn't help us. Yes, they did. Who is they? They did what? You were where? Dude, what are you talking about? Chris, our age group didn't vote the transformation, and look, it was the right thing to do. Obviously, the regulations rules weren't properly set. Well, Chris, or Mr. QB, you know, I mean, we have people in the chat that are 85 years old. We have people in the chat that are 19 years old. So our age group, I don't know what your age group is unless you tell me, Mr. QB. So I'm speaking to people that are responsible. Full path, the fail path since it was taken over by the ANC. Now, you've been on the fail path since 1948. You've been on the fail path since 1948. Charles, I know you served on the border, but I've talked to many veterans who were in the lead elements going towards Luanda. They were gassed. They were gassed. And they didn't want to go. Why didn't they not want to go? Why did they not want to eliminate the communist threat of MPLA once and for all? See, Charles, the voice of reason, and I aren't agreeing on this. People think everyone agrees with everything. No, we don't. We have legitimate discord. If Joe Clark gave South Africa away, yes, segregation was wrong, but he needed to give South away. He and his party were spineless. National Party sold us out, says Fabi. Yep. Michelle Jackson. What about not Lady Pandor? We're not talking about her. Grok is full of shit. Grok is full of shit. Oh my goodness. Do I have the War for Africa here? Let me see if I've got that on the shelf. I did it one time. No, apparently it's not there. Maybe it's over there. Anyway, no, that's nonsense. That's utter nonsense. Any objective historian will tell you that the Cubans and the Angolans got schwacked. Yep, Julia, apartheid was wrong, and so is BE. Mr. QB's in the mid-40s. Well, you're right. You were just a child when this unfolded, Mr. QB, so you can't be blamed for it. But you can be blamed, in part, if you didn't play a role in the political dispensation since 40 years ago, 85, so 2005. Let's go with that. 2003 is when you need to start playing. South Africa's own doing, referendum, Codesa, Rainbow Nation, illusion turned into groupthink. We did this ourselves. Yes, Leona, I agree. I'm not criticizing South Africans. I'm not criticizing South Africans. I'm just stating the facts. Blaming it on Kissinger, blaming it on Reagan is just not going to fly, man. Oh, they took down the apartheid government, which was a good thing. Just saying USA helped the ANC, now the ANC is backstabbing. I got you, Storm. I got you. But I don't think the USA helped. I think Congress tried to help the ANC, but I don't see the United States helping the ANC. That's why they went to the East. The ANC wanted to get help from the United States, but we refused because they were a terrorist organization. They founded Mkhonto we Sizwe, and so we couldn't back them. Some just got to use them. Thank you for clarifying that, Storm, because I didn't understand where you're going with this. I get your point. Thank you for that. Some just got used to misusing the man and never gave up their enslaving habits. Brother-in-law was a parabat. Hectic stuff. Yeah, it was, yeah. Charles Van Alsten says, what purpose would it have served to overthrow the Angolan government if they could not enforce it with the troops they had committed? Okay, Charles. I'll accept your argument. I don't agree with it, but I'll accept it. So why did they drive within a few miles of Luanda? What was the purpose of that? Why did they drive headlong towards Luanda and just stop? Why? What was the purpose? It wasn't supporting UNITA because they weren't supporting UNITA at that stage. That came later. It wasn't to eliminate the FNLA and hold Roberto. They'd already been destroyed by the MPLA. So what was the purpose? What was the purpose of going across the border in the first place? It wasn't to chase SWAPO. SWAPO were dispersed and gone. They were nowhere near Luanda. So what was the purpose then, Charles? Come on. Now, Charles and I are going to have a conversation here. What was the purpose of driving all that way towards Luanda? Just to see how far they could get? Since you asked what purpose, I'm asking you what purpose. The biggest mistake the old government made was to intervene in the terrorists killing each other in townships. You know what, Stradcott? Yeah, a smarter policy would have been to simply let the townships burn. That sounds callous and heartless, but for the National Party, it would have been a smarter policy, probably. Fabian says, thank you for your straightforward, no bullshit view. I wish more people were straightforward. Husky says, I think a lot of us elderly people feel like we've been lied to since birth. I understand where you're coming from there. We were born accused and still are. I'm not accusing you, Husky. I don't blame South Africans for apartheid. Certain South Africans, sure, but not South Africans. A lot of us still don't know why we're sent to Southwest Asia, Angola. Well, Arthur, that's a fair point as well. Yeah, loving the chat, but got to go. Okay. MP and ANC did not agree on what is happening now. What the ANC has done for those 31 years is not part of the deal. No, it wasn't, Flying Dutchman. It wasn't part of the deal. Since you got brains for it. Good job taking down the apartheid government. Now the USA is taking down ANC supporting. Well, we might be Storm Zede. We'll see. We'll see. Sumary's 46. Yes, I was ignorant to politics. I was not brought up in that way. As I became an adult and grew older and wiser, what happened in the border war in a country's history, I don't know. Well, part of the problem, Sumary, is that South Africans aren't taught history. They're taught propaganda. It's a shame. They're taught that people who are terrorists are heroes. They're not heroes. They're iconic figures. They're influential, important figures in history, but they're not heroes. Heroes are not terrorists. Heroes are not sports celebrities. They're not musicians. They're not artists. Those aren't heroic things. Heroes are people who do heroic deeds, especially in the face of adversity. So South Africans aren't taught their history. I mean, when I started this program 5 years ago, doing what I'm doing now on the channel, and I talked about things like Kuite Kunavale, I talked about the League of Nations mandate for German Southwest Africa and South Africa operating that. I talked about the history of Afrikaners, about Blood River, about the 6 border wars between the Xhosa and the Boers. And I talked about the Khoisan. I had so many South Africans like, how do you know this? I'm like, How do you not know it? It's history. But they're like, but I didn't learn that in school. These are younger South Africans because they're not taught that. They're taught to be ashamed of who they are. They're taught that white people are evil and that coloreds are black. They're not black. That Indians are black. They're not black. They're Indian. Yep. They're pushing back SWAPO and MPLA from the... SWAPO was nowhere near Luanda. Nowhere near Luanda. And they were spent as a force long before they got that far north. They never intended to go so far. Is it SADF's fault that the opposition were terrible? No, it's the SADF's fault for not taking Luanda or not having a strategic plan. The general staff of SADF should have had a better plan. We invade Angola to help UNITA. Not in 1975, no. 75, 76, no. But in the 1980s, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. The amount of troops committed shows that they never intended to push. Well, that's an assumption. I mean, the British conquered Sierra Leone with a reinforced rifle battalion. Or rifle battalion minus, excuse me. A rifle battalion minus. They ended a dozen-year brutal civil war by just saying a rifle battalion. The United States ended the 13-year civil war in Liberia by deploying Marines to the U.S. Embassy compound at Mamba Point. Not even going into combat. So the argument that the troops to task is an indication that they weren't trying to cheat something, I'm not buying that either. Not buying that either. History in school only starts post-94. Exactly, Lynette. That's bullshit. My parents and I were just ordinary people against apartheid. I grew up in the 70s, 80s, says Karen. Rewritten from 94. I know, that's the point I'm telling you. We have an African lady who stayed with us during apartheid. She was a lovely lady. Hitler did kill himself. That's there's no doubt of that. Please forgive my ignorance, but were we as South Africans not supposed to have a chance to vote in a referendum regarding ANC? Intention to accuse Israel? No, Leslie, under your system of government, you get no say in that. And there are still 27 city females missing. Yeah. Nib, thank you. Yeah. They'll probably never find them. Some of them are sex slaves. No, never took history as a subject, either in Standard 7, not my field of study. So many things can be different. Yeah, folks on the border don't want to talk about it, understandably so. Well, Verna, I'm not surprised the DA won't support the vote of no confidence. That's kind of what I predicted. If you watch my short from earlier, I wonder if anybody's watched those shorts. Let's take a look at that really quickly here. The shorts I did earlier today. I did 2 of them, and not great. 6,000, 4,000. So that's 7,800. It's picking up now a little bit. That's one. But I don't really advertise the shorts much. Hopefully my mods do that. And the other one is 5,300. So 2 different shorts. One was on the MK Party, no confidence, and the credibility crisis in South Africa. So not doing particularly well. Lizette de Kock, thank you for your viewership and subscribing. Let's see what's going on with the video I did this evening about the sanctions. That one is currently at 16,900. That's good. That's good. Cool. It's global funding coming out of Turkey. Okay. You're sure you were taught about Sharpeville and Mandela was great until my grandparent told me he planted bombs. Well, he personally didn't plant bombs, but yes, he's responsible for it. I'm comparing SADF U.S. Army. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not comparing to that. I'm just saying that a lot of South Africans blame Kissinger. That's where this all started, Charles. I said a lot of South Africans blame the United States and Kissinger for stopping conquering Angola. That's where this argument came from. I said we're not responsible. You guys made that decision, and you're just confirming what I said, essentially. But then we're quibbling over stuff. When I was in school, we were still taught history. I grew up with a family of a mother who fled from Germany in 1945 to Luderitz, and a father born in Grootfontein from parents who moved from Angola. Were they ethnic Germans in Angola, or were they the Deutschland Trekkers, or what were they, Anita? With a name like Grobler, I'm going to guess that they were probably Germans. You know, I met the lady that used to run the Royal Hotel in Dundee. That lady, I went there in 2000. It was a lovely hotel, by the way. Old, but lovely. Now it's just gone. She was an ethnic German from Namibia, and her parents were ethnic Germans from Angola. And at the end of the First World War, they were repatriated or relocated from Angola to Namibia. And she was an old lady when I met her in 2000, so she must have been like 70-something. And her parents Her parents were in Namibia. She was born in Namibia, and then she moved to South Africa later on. But her German parents were from Angola. Yep. There used to be Germans there. Yep. Yep. I'm interested in this story, Anita Krobler. Okay. When will Trump hit South Africa with these damn tariffs? August 1st. Dogzilla, the letter is delivered. August 1st. Something was what's this? BF was anti-drafting the border war while his brother boyfriend, and has a completely different opinion. Went to Namibia last year where he was posted and heard some of his stories. Oh, Sue Marie, thank you. We need 3 branches of government like the USA. We were punching above our weight already. Case in point, Kuite Kunavale. I know, and you won. You kicked ass, Charles. You kicked ass. Very proud to say I voted to end apartheid. Obviously, it was the hope that improving. Well, Leslie, you did the right thing morally. Yeah, I mean, people can argue about it, but you did the right thing morally. So, yeah, it's nothing. There's no shame in that. But you don't get any credit for it because of the people rewriting history. Yeah, well, the ANC didn't win. That's the thing. They didn't win. They stole. First off, the ANC. I've told the story many times. If you go to the Anti-Apartheid Museum in Gold Reef City in Soweto, if you go there. It's closed now, apparently, but I went there several times over the years. And each time I went, it became more embarrassing. The first time, it was pretty objective. They talked about Steve Biko and black consciousness, and they talked about the Black Sash movement, and they talked about people being banned, and the reporters who tried to report and expose things. And they talked about the ANC. They talked about the Pan-African Congress. And then every time I went, those things were turned into the ANC. The ANC. Suddenly, the ANC was responsible for the Freedom Charter. They're not responsible for Freedom Charter. It's mostly written by white South African Jews and the Pan-African Congress. That's who wrote the Freedom Charter. And it was inspired by America's Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, not the ANC. But they took credit for it. They took credit for Black Consciousness Movement at that museum, which is a joke. They had nothing to do with it. The ANC was dead. Talk to Dr. Anthea Jeffrey about this. She knows the story. She's written about it and talked about it endlessly. And she's correct. The ANC was spent as a force after the Rivonia trial. When those guys were all locked up, including Mandela, after the trial because they were terrorists and shipped off to Robben Island, the ANC was spent. Its leaders who were not arrested fled the country and went abroad and sought help. But they were gone. They played virtually no role in South Africa's politics from 1962 until 1980. And actually not until about 85 when they incited this stuff was going on in KwaZulu-Natal and in Soweto. So, the ANC is a spent force at that time. They stole history. They stole governance. They, with the help of the Western media, if that's where Storms, if you're still here, Storm, this is where there was help, but it wasn't from the government. It was from the media. Western media in the U.S. and Europe all favored the ANC and Mandela, and they pimped him up and promoted him and talked about the ANC, and they told the narrative of the ANC just wanting freedom for everybody, which is all bullshit. They want black supremacy. They want to rule. They want revenge. I mean, it's pretty evident in their actions. Why would you rename Pretoria Tshwane after a mystical, unknown, undocumented, Tswana chief from 170 years ago that no one knows? It's ridiculous. There was no permanent settlement there. It was the Trek Boers who founded the city of Pretoria, named it after Andries Pretorius. Simple as that. It was the Afrikaners who founded Nelspruit. There was no settlement there. They founded Nelspruit in the 19th century. So why do you steal the name of that from the people who founded the place and built it? Unless you hate them and you're seeking revenge. Hey, Virtual Western Cape. I refuse to teach history because they teach false facts. You can also not get any history textbook used in school pre-94. Yep. Again, help the tirelessly end apartheid and 295 the ANC back. Yeah, Storm, you couldn't. It's just like the Soviets. The Soviet Union had massive support and help in creation from Jews, Russian Jews primarily, and they murdered the Jews, just like the Nazis did. Yep. Yes, Rex, they murdered approximately 25,000 IFP leaders. That's why the IFP is a spent force. It's never recovered. Mangosuthu Bulezi is one of the few people that escaped their wrath. Yep. Anime, most people don't know about the Black Sash. You're right. They don't. They don't know about Black Sash. Or the lone voice in Parliament who railed against apartheid for years. They don't even know who that is, do they? But she was there, doing it for years. Everyone praised Mandela, but in reality, he's a cold-blooded killer. Many died at the hands of terrorists, says Leon. Lots of Germans in Southwest Africa, Namibia. My grandfather under Smuts fought in the German Southwest Africa campaign. Karen, that's interesting. That's something I've researched and written a bit about. What was South Africa like before apartheid? According to my mom, it was the worst thing any government could have done. Yeah, Rakes, there wasn't equality as such, but you know that coloreds could vote in South Africa? There was limited franchise for coloreds. Yeah. Yep. And some blacks. Some blacks were able to vote when South Africa first came about. And even before it was a country, some blacks in the Western Cape could vote. Yep. Mr. QB says, it pisses me off that we just accept the history that is being imprinted on us. Thank you for educating our followers platform. What a shame. Mr. QB, I'm a historian. I don't buy into the fake stuff. And you know, history can be interpreted. People interpret history. I'm interpreting it. But I don't have a fight. I don't have a dog in the fight here. I'm not an Afrikaner. I'm not knocking boots with the Border Meisie. I'm not married to a South African. I don't have any offspring there. I don't have any business interest there. I don't gain anything for South Africa. So I'm approaching this as objectively as I can. I don't hate white people. I don't hate black people. I don't hate, well, there are some people I dislike, but not based on skin color, not based on race or ethnic origin. So I just try to be objective, and as a historian, that's what you hopefully would do. But of course, it's an interpretation of history. I mean, Charles and I have a different interpretation about why things stopped in front of Luanda. To me, they didn't have the resources to go any further. They couldn't do it. But my point with that whole story wasn't that. My point with the story is that there are people in South Africa who blame us, and they blame Kissinger. Well, it's Kissinger's fault. We could have taken Luanda. No, you couldn't. Charles made my point. They didn't have the resources. Thank you for that confirmation, Chris. That was my burning question. Okay, Ruben, what question was that? I missed that. Sorry. Everyone's complicit and wrong. Both sides made mistakes. There were terrorists. In fact, no matter what smugness. The idea of apartheid was to give the blacks their own territories. Well, that was how it started, Stratcott. Apartheid, separate development. Yeah, that's how it started. But the problem is that the tools used to achieve that became racist. And that was a problem. Husky says, I know you don't see us as accused, and I thank you for that. You're welcome. You're welcome. And just like I don't blame black people for the ANC. A lot of y'all blame, I'm not saying who, but a lot of you blame just blanket the blacks. I don't blame black people for the ANC. I blame the people who voted for the ANC. The country has 43 million blacks, and only 8.5 million people voted for the ANC, and they weren't all black. So maybe 6.5, 7 million black folks maybe voted for the ANC out of 43 million. That's a distinct minority. And of course, not all 43 million will vote, but you know, it's like 30-some million. So a very small minority of black South Africans actually vote for the ANC. So I don't blame all black South Africans. The blacks will always vote for the ANC. No, they won't. No, they won't. They won't always vote. And the proof of the pudding is the last two elections, as I said. I never knew that during apartheid there were so many opportunities for the oppressed, even though the system was wrong. Yeah, well, you're right, Sue Marie. And the case, it's not everybody had this chance, but the case I make all the time is Dr. Zweli Mkhize. Went to school, went to high school, went to university, went to medical school, became a practicing physician in South Africa under apartheid. Now, how does a black man do that if there's no opportunity for black people? It doesn't mean things were good. Past laws were evil. Anti-miscegenation laws were not good. But my point is that, isn't it convenient how the ANC glosses over that? Now, if Zweli Mkhize had to leave South Africa to get his education at Eton and go to medical school in the UK and get licensed as a doctor and practice there, okay. That's what Munchane, the witch doctor who was Dr. Beetroot, she went to the Soviet Union and became a doctor. Gosh, what did they teach her? How to murder people? Anyway, in that case, she went abroad. But Zweli Mkhize did all of his stuff in South Africa during apartheid. Greek Colonel wastes money tearing down statues, change street names and town names, historic places. Why not make your own? Exactly. What we were promised by the ANC and Sierra Leone imposed a digital city. Remember that? They're going to build this big town. They haven't built anything. It's like the EFF. We're going to build a school. Where's the school, buddy? It's been a long time. Apartheid built 6 universities just for black people and 1,000 schools. Yep, that's true. That's true. State of Art School in Soweto. Yep. All about the media. Gotcha, Ribbon. I meant to back and listen to your old videos when I was not following the channel. I educate myself. Just need to finish this darn dissertation. Well, I appreciate you spending your spare time with me, Sue Marie, and I hope your dissertation goes well and your defense of it. We bought ice cream and ornaments in our area from black entrepreneurs. I recall the ice cream person giving us a 1 cent discount on a 3 cent lolly. That's awesome. That's very nice, Rex. We voted because we wanted the killings to stop, the fear of going to school, the fear of bombing. I will never forget 1987, sitting on the 6th floor when the bomb exploded on the ground floor. That's crazy. We're all being Russell, says Mr. QB. Don't steal my verb. My father at White's Only Rhodes University in Grahamstown, 1980s, helped some blacks to start what became the Ndaba newspaper. Okay, last try. With the rollout of infringements to be captured, no idea what you're saying. Okay. Anyway, all right, what's this? Have to run. Okay, some people are running, some people are still here. How are we doing? 344. Okay, how long have we been at this? Been at this for 2.5 hours. Oh my goodness, man. This time just slides away and I don't even realize it. All right, guys. Really, I'm going to have to stop. It's late, guys. It's late. Time to take a break. I'm going to get some rest. Wednesday is always my long day. Anyway, so, yeah. 9,500. Okay, so I'm looking at the views for this hour. So anyway, all right, that's going to wrap it up here. New traffic law. What's that all about? If blacks had half the mindset of whites, they could build, maintain anything. Well, some blacks do have that mindset, Stratcott. Some black South Africans are very much in the same mindset of some white South Africans. You got useless people of all ethnicities, all skin colors. You got brilliant people of all skin colors and ethnicities. You got to stop lumping people together, folks. Prince Mashele, interesting. Okay, thank you. Great live once again. Black ladies came to our areas, poor areas to swap clothing, says Rex. 100,000 houses in Alex. Okay. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good one. I'll see you later in the day. Please watch my content. I did 2 shorts today. Check those out. Go to the shorts tab. Check out those 2 shorts from today, well, yesterday now, and check out my video that I prepared on the possible sanctions coming. All right. Thanks. I'm actually kind of tired right now. I'm starting to babble on here. Okay, guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for the engaging conversation. We had a good conversation. Storm, thank you for your input. Charles, thank you for your input. And, you know, people thought we were arguing, but in the end, you confirmed what I said. They didn't have the resources to continue, which was my point. You're very welcome. All right, that's going to be it. God bless and have a good evening. Thanks for being here, folks. Go about 10 minutes before your allocated time. You'll still queue inside, but okay, I know what you're talking about. You must be talking about going somewhere. Okay. Gosh, bless it. Okay. Cheers, everybody. Good night.